MPC meeting to order at 10 o'clock. I guess we'll start off with excused from the meeting. I see a couple of spaces. I know I'm in a different space. Holly.
I'll make a motion to excuse Councillor Screever and Councillor Chrisman to excuse them.
All in favor? Okay, so moving right along, minutes. How do you want to deal with the minutes? Anyone? Lynette?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Good. Moving on to the agenda. Anything to add to the agenda? No? A motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Am I doing things right? Okay. Yes, okay, all in favor? Excellent. All right, so we have several people in the gallery today, so I think we'll start with introductions. So let's start with you, Neil.
Good morning, I'm Neil Johnson, Division 7 Councillor.
Ben Hofer, Division 8 Councillor, County Neil.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, the Hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good morning, Arno Dirksen. I'm the Reeve of the County and the Division 9 Councillor.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Councillor Holly Johnson, Division 4, the areas around Castles, Bow City, Scandia, Rainier, and Antelope Creek.
Good morning, Dan Baumgarten, Division 1 Councillor around Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Lynette Kopp. I'm Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Good morning, Emma Sinclair, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Catherine Siaklik, Communications Officer.
Good morning, Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Shanna-Lee Simpson, Development Officer.
Hello, I'm Maria Jackson, Planning and Development Supervisor.
Just introduce yourself.
Jacob Wallner, Fairville.
Very good.
Bill Whip, Fairville.
Joe from Bassano, Translody.
Dalen Berquist, applicant for a subdivision.
Krisha Berquist, I'm with him.
Chance Robinson.
Rochelle McDonald, and I'm with him.
Welcome, thank you. So I think we'll start first with the development permits. Is that okay, Shanna-Lee?
Okay, development permit 2025091 is for the intensification of an agricultural processing business, specifically the addition of 6 more grain bins, bringing the total to 12 grain bins and 2 buildings. The land is currently vacant. However, the applicant obtained a development permit in 2024 for the agricultural processing building, including 6 grain bins and a scale. The larger building will be used for offices, washroom facilities, and an area to clean the grain. The smaller building will be used to enclose the dump system. There'll be a parking area north of the primary building for 4 staff members and approximately 6 semi-trucks. They're not requesting any variances to the to the setback requirements. The applicant has an approved roadside development permit with Alberta Transportation. The Bassano and County IDP states that development in the IDP should be hooked up to municipal water and wastewater systems if capacity is available. In discussions with the town of Bassano, they have identified that it would be above $500,000 to have water and septic brought to the parcel. The applicant is requesting to install a cistern and a septic field in lieu of that. There was one response received from adjacent landowners, and that was in the southeast area, that they were concerned about noise. There was no issues or concerns from administration. And Bazzano just replied with the cost of the services, but they had no other issues with the development. When the development was reviewed in 2024, Bazzano did have some conditions that they had requested to have put on the permit, specifically to make sure that guidance is from Alberta Health Services for the setback for the helipad, that Alberta Transportation has been provided, that is done, that waste containment is established, that was added as a condition, vegetation management, which was added as a condition, that hard packed gravel foundation is provided, which was added as a condition, designated area for trucks, and that an agreement is made for the development of an approach to County of Newell standards, and that also has been added as a condition. And Mr. Gill is here to respond to questions.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Gill. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go for ask?
This one?
It's on.
No, I think she summarized it fairly well, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Anyone? Oh, Councillor Johnson.
So if this was a, this permit says construction, gives a date for construction starting. So I'm wondering, if nothing's on the parcel yet, what was the date you were supposed to start construction for the initial permit if you haven't started it yet? Is there a reason for you haven't started this project if you're increasing it?
No, we have begun actually, as a matter of, as of last week. We are excavating the land as we speak, and we will be finished with the concrete within today actually. So we are receiving some bins next Thursday, and anything that's additional is the following weeks.
And when would you expect this to be operational?
Ideally, we would like it to be in the second week of next month. So we are fairly close to the project finishing.
Councillor Kopp.
Hi. So did the approach get done? For one question. And the other one, how are we actually supposed to be dealing with the sewer and the water? Like, are you just doing a porta potty or something right now? Or what was your plan there?
Yes. So for the sewage and the water, we thought cistern and the fill might be a good option, since we only have one office in the building. And as for the approach, the excavation crew has been on site trying to build that, but the weather has changed drastically and it's very muddy. So they instead began building the concrete work, so that when it's super cold next week again, they will be finished with the concrete, and they will be back on building the pavement for the trucks to pass through, as well as the approach the week after next week.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Johnson.
I guess the question would be for Maria. What is happening with the concern from the neighbor about noise? How has that been addressed?
I haven't addressed the noise concern. That was a concern, and I'm open to suggestions on how we can address the noise.
Councillor Kopp.
Are we concerned about noise if it's during business hours? Like, isn't that unacceptable, or are you going to be running 24/7?
All of the operation is running with the three-phase electric power. So we don't have any heavy gasoline or noise-making machines on the site. The noise is no different than a co-op gas station, the opposite of it. So it's, at the very best, it's a truck running. So and the adjacent neighbor is I don't believe there is anybody less than at least half a kilometer from the site, which is RCMP, and any other neighbor will be more than a kilometer from the site. So I don't think they can even see the site.
Yes, Shanley.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that the adjacent concern was on the south corner. You can see the subdivision starting, and it was 3 parcels down. So there is quite a bit of distance from the parcel that had a concern to the business.
Thank you. I have a question. We started off with 6 bins. Now you're going to put in 12. Is that going to be sufficient, or like, are we going to be seeing you back again for some more later? I'm just curious about that.
This is good enough for at least next 3 years. The system is designed to run rows of 6 bins each. Once it is put together in the coming weeks, the belts are designed in a way where we can only expand in the rows of 6 because the belts are moving on top of the bins, and they only moved in those specifications. So this capacity we have is good enough for at least 2 to 3 years that we have. But everything goes well and the business complements it, then of course we'll be looking forward to expand it.
And just to have it straight in my mind, and all that is run electrically?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Yes, Officer.
Well, I too hope that you're back in a few years to expand the business.
Absolutely.
Just a question about the scale. The scale is a like you're doing concrete work for the scale, or is it a portable scale?
Yes, so the scale will be based on 6 concrete pads, and then it is a metal-based structure. So it's above ground, and it will be, I'm hoping it will be 10 to 15 inches above the ground, so we can maintain and clean it underneath and do all the rest of it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Johnson.
I know this is in the initial application, but my mind's not that good to recall it all. Is your clientele going to be local farmers? Is it grain related to the train, the elevator? What is your clientele?
So our supplier is a farmer. We do deal with about 70 to 80 odd farmers in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and our clientele is mostly we deal with the overseas markets, so mostly Turkey, Egypt, China, Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia, kind of thing. Yeah.
Councillor Kopp.
I'm ready to make the motion to approve this with the conditions.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Looks carried. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. I hope to see you again.
All right, so we'll move on to our next 7.2. Yes, Shanley.
Thank you. Development permit 2025094 is for the intensification of an agricultural processing operation that was approved in May 2025, specifically an organic fertilizer business. The applicant would like to utilize a separate building for the reproduction of black flies. The intensification of the business will include 2 additional employees, 1 more freight vehicle daily. The building that's going to be used for the intensification of the business was approved in 2012 for a shop, office, and storage, and has all the construction permits have been obtained and approved for that building. There was no adjacent landowner responses. There was no issues with administration. We're recommending approval with conditions, and the applicants are here to respond to questions, as well as their colleague is online to answer questions.
Welcome. So is there anything you'd like to add before we go to questions? No? Online, anything? Okay, any questions? Council?
Morning, Sepa.
Hi, good morning.
Councillor Johnson.
Just a quick question. Great project. What will be ongoing in terms of inspections, like federal or provincial? Is there a lot of that with this facility, or is that not the case?
No.
Anyone else? Any questions? Anybody prepared to make a motion? Councillor Johnson.
I would make the motion that we approve this.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sepa.
Thank you, Sue. Bye.
Next, Shanna Lee.
Thank you. Development permit 2025097 is for the operation of a vehicle service business, which would be considered a home-based business too. The business will operate with one resident employee and no non-resident employees. Vehicle service is a use in business hamlet, business rural, and industrial general districts. It's not a use in residential rural. The home-based business will not have the same volume as what a regular vehicle services business will have. He will use the accessory building on the property. There will not be any painting on the site. There will be no outdoor storage of vehicles. So essentially, when a vehicle comes in for repair, it's going to be going inside of the accessory building until it's complete, and then it will be removed from the parcel. The business anticipates approximately 1 to 2 customer visits per day, 6 days a week. And the applicant currently operates a mobile business also for the same use. There was no response from adjacent landowners, and there was no issues or concerns from administration. And Mr. Robinson is here to answer questions.
Welcome. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we? I think it was covered pretty well, but I'm open to answer. Okay. Any questions, council? Councillor Dorff?
Yeah, no questions, but just a motion to approve as recommended. I think it looks pretty straightforward, and wish you well in your business.
I just had one question, so no vehicles be stored outside. So what happens if somebody doesn't come to get their car right away? If you.
So I have storage for about 4 vehicles in the shop. So I'm gonna have like probably one half of the shop is gonna be where I'll be working on vehicles, and then I'll have like a ground spot. So if someone's gonna be a little while to pick it up, I'm just gonna put it in the ground spot, and then the next vehicle will go where the hoist is.
Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, so motion's been made. All in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, so subdivisions. Maria.
That's me. Thank you. This is subdivision application number 20250016. The proposal is to subdivide a 0.13 acre parcel from the southeast of 2014 to be consolidated with the residential parcel. The proposed boundary line adjustment is located 5 kilometers south of the village of Dutches and 10 kilometers north of the city of Brooks. The applicant is constructing a geothermal system, and he realized he needed a little bit more land. So the lands that are being subdivided are not being irrigated or actively farmed. And there are no wetlands, environmentally or historically significant areas. And it is recommended that this subdivision be approved with the conditions attached.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Johnson.
Hello. It wasn't long ago that we did this subdivision. I recall it with discussion on the lines and everything else. I'm just curious, with this small piece that's added, how much is the applicant paying in fees to get this done, and how much staff time is involved when we're dealing with such a tiny piece of land? What does that work out to?
From a county perspective, the application fee is the same as any subdivision that goes through. The fees are $750 for the application, $700 for the application, $350. The total is $1,050. Plus, there would be surveying costs associated for the applicant, so whatever that would be, and that depends on the complexity of the proposal. As far as staff time, we review the application, we do a historical review of the land file and anything that has happened in the past. It gets circulated to adjacent landowners and advertised on our social media. On the website, sorry, not always social media. That depends on how Canada Post is doing. So as far as number of hours, this one is pretty straightforward. So I would say it's less hours than something that is creating a new lot. But the cost is about the same as a regular subdivision.
Thank you.
For motion?
I'm looking for a motion.
I will move that we approve as recommended.
Excellent.
Madam Chairman.
All in favor? Opposed? None? That is carried. Thank you. All right, 8.2, our next subdivision. Yes, Maria.
Okay, thank you. This proposed subdivision is located in Division 7, approximately 2 kilometers east of the city of Brooks. The subject parcel contains 2 existing dwellings, and the subdivision would separate the parcels into 2 lots, allowing each dwelling to be located on its own parcel. So the proposed subdivision is 4.8 acres from the existing residential parcel. The proposed parcel will contain 1 dwelling and a garage and shed, and the remnant parcel will include a dwelling, garage, shop, animal shelter, pump house, and solar panels. All the existing and proposed development complies with the required setbacks of the land use bylaw, with the exception of a pump house that's located adjacent to the range road, which is on the remnant parcel. You can see it right here on that sketch. Each dwelling is serviced by a lagoon system, which is on the east part, which would be on the east parcel. And the applicant intends to update to a septic tank and field system. There is a connection to the regional water line on the proposed subdivision, which is on the west side, so it comes in here, but no connection to the house on the east. Access to the proposed parcel will be from Range Road 14-2. The applicant is proposing a shared driveway through the establishment of a 7-meter wide access right-of-way. The proposed right-of-way does not fully encompass the existing driveway and may require amendment to ensure adequate access to the proposed subdivision. I was just talking to the applicant, and they have indicated that they are planning on changing the driveway and parking area. So there is a condition in the recommendations that may not be required pending MPC's decision. So subdivision application 91 SE 96 originally separated the land into 2 parcels in 1992. So there was an existing parcel in 1992. Then the owner at that time consolidated into a single lot in 2021. And now we're looking at revising this again into 2 lots. There are no wetlands present. The land has been identified as a potential for historic resources that may require avoidance. That's just something the applicant needs to be aware of should they ever develop. And there are no abandoned wells within the area. So comments from circulation. I have updated this since it has been circulated originally. So maybe just a quick sideline. We circulate to adjacent landowners and required referrals for 21 days. Sometimes that 21 days falls past the deadline to get to get my agenda items in to be circulated. So I received these letters after I had already submitted for the agenda. So that's why we were updated, and that's why those timelines kind of run into each other a little bit. We're trying to speed up the process as much as possible. So that being said, back to the comments. Municipal Services has requested that a 20-meter wide service road be dedicated by caveat on the Range Road frontage along the west side of the proposed and remnant parcel. Municipal Services has indicated that no additional access can be created off the Range Road. So an additional approach that would go right into this proposed parcel is not something that we can look at. So MPC could consider the access right-of-way to allow shared access. The service road caveat would be there in the event that the access road easement doesn't work out or different landowners want to change things. Then there's the opportunity to create their own access via that service road. So we don't have to create that service road now, but it is there in the future should it be required. Administration had also indicated that while the proposed subdivision has direct physical access to the west, access to the yard by way of registered right-of-way across another parcel is not normally an acceptable alternative. So it is also indicated that each parcel must be serviced by individual connections to the rural water distribution system. We received 2 letters submitted from adjacent landowners. Both landowners had concerns regarding the location of sewage infrastructure in relation to their property and the condition of existing infrastructure. Fortis indicated that no easements were required. However, the developer can arrange installation of separate electrical services through Fortis. And ATCO submitted a letter stating that they have a right-of-way that runs through both parcels, and they just want the requirements for that. So conditions to be considered: that all outstanding property taxes be paid, that any utility right-of-way plans, easements such as the access easement or any other agreements be supplied to the county prior to the finalization of the subdivision. That the applicant enters into a development agreement with the county if that's required. This one can be considered by MPC, that the proposed 7-meter wide access right-of-way be extended to ensure access to the frontage of the dwelling. That a 20-meter wide service road be dedicated by caveat on the Range Road 14-2 frontage along the west side of the proposed and remnant parcel. And then this can be called upon if there's ever troubles with the shared driveway. That the applicant provide proof that the current potable water and PSDS systems for all the dwellings on the parcel meet the Alberta Safety Code standard prior to the finalization of the subdivision. Municipal reserve is not applicable as it was paid as money in place of land when the parcels were first subdivided in 1983. And it is recommended that MPC approve this with conditions, and the applicant is here to discuss some of those conditions.
Thank you. Welcome. Is there anything you'd like to add, Dalen? Yes. Okay.
Before you vote on, I do have problems with one of the conditions of the approval, and that would be the last condition listed there with that both properties pass the private sewer disposal system regulations at the time of title. Currently, both properties are serviced by the same lagoon that was built in the 70s. as identified by one of the landowner letters there. This lagoon was 100% compliant in the 70s, and still would be today had the subdivision of 83, when they drew the property line on the south of this property, it was drawn too close to that lagoon. That setback has technically been non-compliant since 1983 as far as setback from another property, I guess. And then when the adjacent landowner built a dugout in the early 2000s, that dugout is also within the setback requirements for a private lagoon system. However, this property, as Maria pointed out, has been through the Municipal Planning Commission 3 times in the last 20 years. And that requirement has been brought up. We do agree that we should do this. There's a significant cost to converting a lagoon to a private disposal system. It takes a lot of cash, and we are hoping that we can have title for the second property in order to obtain more funds from a financial institution to build that second private disposal system. I don't know how we can legally put that on record, but an extra $25,000 is a lot when there'll be significant costs for expanding the driveway and that sort of stuff with this subdivision as it sits. So, yeah, and I guess just a comment that lagoon was built by the family that kept subdividing and building stuff close to it. So, I mean, that's why they were okay with it for the last 50 years, I guess. But going forward, it should change, yes, but I don't want it to be a condition of this particular subdivision.
Just to add to that, just to be clear, we would of course put a new septic and field system on the piece that's being taken away. The lagoon system would stay on our dwelling, and then we would do, like, after title's been and that one's taken care of, then we would of course replace that lagoon system with a new septic and field system on the second property.
Okay, did everyone understand, heard that? Okay, questions? Yes, Councillor Kopp.
So the lagoon as it sits right now is non-compliant. Is that right?
I was reading, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Just, I'm not a sewage disposal expert, obviously. I read through the 2021 regulations a couple times this week, and I believe it to be compliant except for the setback distances to a neighboring property, which is supposed to be 100 feet, I believe, and it's a little bit under that, and it needs to be 330 feet from a waterway, which it is to the EID's drainage canal off to the east, but when the neighbor constructed his lagoon, that's within that setback distance. That's been there for over 20 years.
Follow up? Yeah.
Your lagoon was there first before.
That's correct. It was built in the 70s.
Okay. I do have one more question. Can you explain the service road thing? Like, how exactly, where would a service road be? And like, that is an issue that we could possibly put as a condition as well. Is that right?
We made pictures for everybody.
The service road too. Maria will talk about that. Sorry.
Maria.
I could speak to that a little bit. So if we look at this map here, just because I like visuals. So this land here, when these parcels were subdivided, this was taken already as land for a service road. There's a little service road already built in here. So that is the 20 meters that are required. When this parcel was subdivided, these two parcels, instead of taking the land, they put a caveat on. So if you pull the titles for these two parcels, there's a caveat that says, there is a dedication for 20 meters of service road right here. So if that's ever required, then this property line would continue north as is. So that's the recommendation, that we don't take the land currently. However, if it's ever needed, there's a caveat on title that says we can take that if needed. So it would be very similar to what's happening here. Does that make sense?
Anyone else? Any other? Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Good morning. I'm curious about your lot, the new lot you're creating, the access and some of the lines you have drawn. I'm curious as to why you're not extending that lot to take in the entire width of the, oh, I'm so geographically impaired, the one that would give them direct access to the back of the dwelling, as opposed to it cutting it off and they don't have the complete access. Do you understand the question I'm asking? Yeah, I'm wondering why you don't just make that so they have easier access to theirs, which would make it easier for approval.
Yeah, a comment on that, and maybe it's a post-agenda item. Wasn't really part of the package. I did another Google Earth drawing with some dimensions on where we think we would like to extend the driveway by knocking down some spruce trees on the west side of the proposed dwelling there. The reason we don't want to come into where the existing gravel is on the back side of the house is because couple of reasons. A, we want to, keep some separation and privacy between the two parcels so that, that doesn't become a jumbled shared area where, everybody's kind of stepping on each other's toes. The shop doors of the shop on the north edge of the property, there's overhead doors that face directly down the driveway. So I didn't want to extend the shared access up to past the point where that Y's off, because that would be future points of congestion if a resident of one property is thinking they can I want to be able to park in front of my shop doors without blocking the neighbor where they think they have a shared access or whatever. So it's just keep better separation between the two parcels. So our proposal is that the shared access would come all the way to where the line is drawn, where the subdivision begins to curve south there, and then developed further driveway directly south from that point by knocking down a few of the spruce trees and just adding some gravel so that they have access to the street side or front side of that residence.
Do you want to see a copy of this?
So on that map that my wife just handed out, there's a few things drawn. That yellow diagonal line, that's the ATCO pipeline that Maria was talking about that has setbacks in there. There's a thin red line that would identify, I think it's on there. Yeah, the thin red line kind of shows approximately where that caveated proposed service road could or would be in the future, should it be drawn. And then there's some brown kind of, and then the blue line that's close to the driveway, that's the Newell Regional Services water line going in there. And the brown is where we'd kind of add more gravel to give parking access and turnaround access to that property.
Councillor Kopp.
So on the proposal right now, where would the caveat go for the driveway? Like how far in would you consider it shared?
I believe that's part of the agenda package. There was a right-of-way image that kind of accurately showed how far that would go.
Maria.
I guess there's two different accesses that we're talking about. So there's this right-of-way, which would extend to just to here. So currently the gravel comes here and the parking pad is here. The applicants, so there's a condition that says that this be extended to encompass the existing parking pad. However, what you have in front of you now shows that the applicants are intending to change that so that the parking for this property now comes here. And if that's the case, then this would be an acceptable amount of access road. So that would be an access agreement between the two parcels saying that that land does belong to the parcel on the east. However, that's a shared access for both. The caveat for the service road, that would be 20 meters from this line here, from the Range Road property line, 20 meters in. And that would just be a caveat on the property that says, should that ever require to be a service road, that whoever needs it can use that land.
Follow up.
So now that I got that all figured out, the little red line that shows the service road has the green block that is where you propose sewer. It's across that line. Is that allowed? I feel like it's probably not.
No, I'd assume that wouldn't be allowed. When we made the subdivision application, we identified where we preferred to put the septic field with that condition of that caveat being there, that septic field would have to more or less turn 90 degrees so that it's longer north and south, that's so that it stays off that, and still have the square footage required by code of practice for the septic field.
And yes, Councillor Johnson.
So one of the letters of concern didn't like your proposed septic field. If I've got the right area, they're saying it's too close to the driveway, and this land is really sandy, as well as there's a pipeline. So can you speak to those concerns?
In the summer, last summer, kind of May, June, we did have that particular area surveyed by a septic company and do soil testing to get approval for a potential septic field there. There are minimum setbacks for a septic field from a neighboring property line, which is 3.5 meters. In the letter, they kept talking about a waterway, meaning their drainage ditch along their driveway. However, that doesn't meet the definition of a water course according to Alberta regulations for that. It's just, it drains water under a heavy rain or a snow melt, but there's no water in it today after these snow melts. But it is sandy there and flat, which is good for drainage. That should be a good spot to have a septic field where you got water draining away and it's flat. You don't want slope on a septic field because you want it to encompass the whole field there. So.
Yes, Councillor Johnson.
So you're saying it's already been surveyed and approved? Oh, well then there's no problem.
Maria.
So they've just indicated a potential location that they have had surveyed, and a certified septic installer has looked at it. Once they're ready to build, they will have to pull a private septic disposal system permit application, and then it will be inspected by our inspection agency to ensure that it meets the Alberta Safety Code. So they'll work together at that point. If they have to change things based on that, they're the experts that make sure that everyone's safe.
Yes, oh, we'll go to the other side. Yes, Councillor Hofer.
So you're saying that this subdivision at one point was already subdivided. Is that the same line that it was subdivided before it became a one parcel deal?
No, it's not the same line. It was drawn differently, but unfortunately, it probably didn't go through the Planning Commission, but the existing property line or the previous property line division had a shop built right on top of it. So instead of asking for that line to be moved, the previous owners asked for it to be amalgamated.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Kopp.
So what's the order of operations then? If we are moving to approve this as they've requested, and then the conditions surrounding the septic field, I was under the understanding that when we do that, that the septic field stuff has to be taken care of before the subdivision can actually be considered complete. Is that right? Or
Maria?
Yes. So the condition that's recommended is that the services meet the Alberta Safety Code standard prior to the finalization of subdivision. So really that final endorsement before registration at land titles is the county's hammer to ensure that things are properly completed and that they meet the Alberta Safety Code standard. The applicant has requested that this parcel meet the Alberta Safety Code standard and this one remain as is until they are able to satisfy the conditions. In recent history, we have said it needs to meet the Safety Code standard. There has been one instance since I've been here that a development agreement has been put on the title that says that in X amount of time, or should this happen, that these now need to be done. A development agreement is a lot harder for the county to enforce. So that is not administration's recommendation. However, that has happened in the past, pardon me.
Any other questions? Anyone? How would you like to proceed, MPC? Oh, Councillor Johnson.
Just one quick question. I appreciate your new drawing has straighter lines, which will make it easier to know whose property is whose. Though these properties are fairly close together, I'm just wondering, are you going to build a fence to make it clear whose side is whose? Because I just see it could be a potential for conflict given that there's a little slice of road that has to be taken out, or, you know, what's your plan on that?
Yes, we actually are just waiting for a quote from Norseman Metal. But don't know if you've seen the fence between the post office and Norseman Metal north of Dutchess. Beautiful metal built fence, very private. So we're just waiting for a quote back from them. And that's what we will have between the two properties. It will be very private and a beautiful, beautiful fence. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Dirksen.
There you go. Eric, can you hear me? Just one more question with regard to the concern about development on the property to the right, the larger, the remnant property. Just maybe talk us through how that could work so that, like, is a time frame on the time to get that up to code something that would work for you, or is there, I think my thought is that we want to accommodate what you're doing, but we also don't want to get ourselves or you into a problem in the future that comes back to haunt us, basically.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. We would commit to having a new septic system built on the remnant property within 12 months of title being changed or granted. So we understand it's going to probably take some time to get all of our conditions met to approve this subdivision, and then land titles will take a little bit longer to be able to give us title. So we're looking at possibly late summer or fall, but before we get title. But we're committing that we would have, once we have that title, we would have an avenue to access more financing and get that built for the remnant property within 12 months of title change.
And do you live on one of the properties?
Yes, we do. We do live on the remnant property.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so how would you like to proceed? Councillor Baumgartner.
I'm just curious what the recourse is. I believe you, and I think you intend to do that, but from the administration's perspective, what kind of a pickle does that put you in? Should circumstances change, nobody can really see what the future holds. Is this a deal withable circumstance, or is it very difficult?
That's a really good question, and it really depends on who we're working with. If the applicant continues to reside on this property, my hope would be that it would be fairly straightforward. However, titles can change, and sometimes things aren't done. But the development agreement being on title does allow any new owners the opportunity to see what they're responsible for. When it comes to the hammer of forcing, it's tricky. It's not the same as with the final endorsement on the subdivision.
Councillor Dirksen.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. So basically what you're saying is there's going to be an instrument on the title that registers what our requirement is on the remnant title, correct? So that does protect everyone or a new buyer to know that if that property really can't change hands until that condition is met, correct? Go ahead.
It could change hands provided that new owner is fine with that development agreement being put on the title or being on the title. So the county doesn't have a real way unless we force the hand to change that field. But it does indicate that there is a responsibility for that landowner to make changes.
To follow up with the condition that it's within 12 months of title being registered, correct? So within 12 months of title being registered, that condition would either be met or then you'd have some action against a change of, or certainly there'd be registered of the change of ownership, that what the requirement was, or it basically would be in default at that point, right? Okay, I think.
Councillor Johnson.
But that being said, do you have a method in your system to cue that 12 months is up? We don't, do we? Like if the owners decide not to do it, it's not going to come to your attention either though, right? There's a level of trust in this?
That agreement would stay on title until we receive proof that the system would be changed and that it meets the Alberta Safety Code standard, and then we would remove that from title. So really the indicator would be like a reminder in 12 months, this is up, and then we would come to council and say, okay, this hasn't been done. How would you like to deal with this? And there could be an investment required by the county to ensure that has been met if that's the route that council would want to go to at that time.
Okay. Yes, Dylan.
To help ease those concerns, and I don't know how you draw that up legally, but we would agree to a financial penalty being put on our tax roll once that 12 months hits, to help cover that off and say, hey, if you don't build it yourself, we're gonna, the county can hire contractors and come in and get it done and make sure those funds are in that penalty or something, right? I don't know if that's a legal avenue, saying if you don't have this built within 12 months, here's, I don't know.
Maria?
So a different example would be if a requirement was to build a service road, what would happen would be that we would, the applicant would have to submit a quote for the cost of that service road. They would have to pay a deposit of 25% of that cost. We would hold that until the road was built to the standard the county required. There would be a certain period that we would ensure that road met county standard, and then we could refund that cost. So that's something that we could work with the applicant for the development agreement. They could pay a deposit, so we have a security if council needed to go in and upgrade things. then we at least have a little bit of backing for that. And that's maybe more of a hammer than zero amount.
Councillor Kopp, do you still have a question?
I'm more confused than I was before. Right now, the lagoon that is there is not up to code for, like, is that right?
Maria?
We are not sure if it's up to code, and we've never had a complaint about the existing lagoon. However, if it's not up to code, then they would need to upgrade that system to ensure that it met the Alberta Safety Code standard prior to the finalization of the subdivision. What the applicant is asking is that there's a little bit more grace. So they're concerned that it doesn't meet code. You don't know that for sure, I suppose, as far as there's no report, but there's a good chance that it doesn't. So this development agreement then would give them a little more time. I suppose best case scenario is they have an inspection done and they say, oh, you need to make a few little changes and then you're fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all the finer details of the code of practice, I mean, we'd have to have an inspector inspect that and know for sure. The one piece of the lagoon that I know is not compliant is the setback distance, which has been non-compliant since the subdivision was approved in 1983. So we've got, and it hasn't been an issue with the neighboring landowners at that time. So I mean, I guess there was an approval 40 years ago to make that lagoon non-compliant, and it's been operating ever since. So.
Thank you. Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the conditions that you've suggested are connected to the recommendation to approve with conditions. The time frame is in there as well, or does that need to be added on in terms of the conditions for the remnant parcel to come up to grade with the septic system?
So the current condition is that the applicant provide proof that the current potable water and PSDS systems for all dwellings on the parcel meet the Alberta Safety Code standard prior to finalization. That could be altered to say that the applicant provide proof that the PSDF system for the proposed parcel meet the Alberta Safety Code standard, and that a development agreement be entered with the applicant for the confirmation that the PSDS system on the remnant parcel meet the Alberta Safety Code standard with a deadline of 12 months after the finalization of, or 12 months of a new title being granted. Right. With a 25% of the cost of the creation of a septic field as a deposit, security deposit.
Thank you, Maria. Very good.
Does that work for the applicants?
Yeah, we'll make that work. I guess as far as figuring out the 25%, we'll have to get an official quote then, right? Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's the only part I wonder about, whether we need that or not, but I'm prepared to move that we go ahead with that if that meets the applicant's requirement. But I think this.
As amended, as Maria.
Yes.
Councillor Johnson.
I would like to say as well that it's with the amended drawing they gave today, not the one that's in the package, if that matters at all, because this one is a lot clearer than the one we have in our package.
Okay. Yes, Maria.
Sorry, just to confirm, the property lines are not changing. They've just outlined where the service road caveat would be. So it is clear what they've provided, but the property lines aren't changing from what has been proposed.
All right, are we ready? Oh, follow up.
But the original lines are a curve. These ones are straight. It is a difference in the drawing. So we're going to go with the new drawing in terms of the new subdivision, correct?
Yes, Maria.
I think that those yellow lines in the subdivision sketch, are those the ones that look curved? I think that's just because they're inflated. So it's, yeah, that's on me.
So we're ready for the question?
So they are straight?
Councillor Baumgartner.
Just confirmation, because the applicants have what I think is a good idea for the driveway, does that change any of the right-of-way conditions?
Yes, Maria.
That is a good point. Then maybe MPC would want to remove condition 4, that the proposed 7-meter wide access right-of-way be extended. If you're fine with how the applicant is proposing it, then you can remove condition 4.
Councillor Dirksen, did you want to remove that?
I would make that amendment.
All right. All in favor of the motion as amended? Please, okay. Yes, opposed? That is carried. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving right along. Is there any other business? Any post-agenda items? No. Anything to go in camera for? Any questions in the queue? No? All right, I am going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
And I'll suggest that we convene our council meeting at 5 after 11 and take 5 minutes. For January 15th, 2026, our first official meeting of 2026. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Starting a little later than we usually do, but we're in good shape. I will start with recognizing that two members will not be here, Councillor Chrisman and Councillor Screever. Did someone want to make a motion to excuse them? Councillor Skanderup, please. Makes that motion. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. We have the minutes of the previous meeting, December 11th, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions, or a motion to approve those minutes as circulated? Councillor Baumgarten.
I'll make a motion to approve as circulated.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. We have an agenda. Are there anything to add to the agenda? I note that we have economic development, Brooks Newell Regional Economic Development scheduled for 11 o'clock, but we'll just delay that and carry through part of the front of the agenda. I know Mitch is good with that. So is there anything else for the agenda or a motion to approve the agenda as circulated? Councillor Johnson, please.
I'll make a motion to approve as circulated.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Question period. Are there any questions or notices of motion anywhere? Not seeing none. We'll move on. Let's move to bylaws. Item number 7.1, bylaw 2105-24, road closure and lease. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me stay. This is an application for a road closure, and we are requesting second and third reading be given to bylaw 2105-25. The lands are in Division 4, approximately 7 kilometers southeast of Scandia and directly north of the Bow River. All parcels are in the Agriculture General Land Use District, and the total road allowance to be closed is half a mile and includes 4 acres. The applicant is actively irrigating the road allowances, and an aerial photo review has indicated that these pivots have been in operation since before 2000. The application was circulated to internal departments and adjacent landowners, and there were no concerns raised. We received Alberta Transportation approval on December 17th, and they did not have any concerns. So it is the preferred strategy is that second and third reading be given to this bylaw, as it allows the applicant to continue the use of their land and the road allowance to the best of their ability. And it has been approved by Alberta Transportation, and there were no concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Are there any questions, or is someone prepared to make a motion for second reading? Councillor Johnson, Holly Johnson.
I'd like to move second reading.
Thank you. Any questions? Ready for the question. All in favor of the motion to approve second reading, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Similarly, is there someone prepared to move third reading? Councillor Skanderup.
I make a motion for third reading.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried as well. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. So okay, let's move on to the schedule of fees bylaw 7.2. Matt, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Reeve Dirksen. So no real surprises here. We have a few minor edits to the bylaw since first reading, so we're looking for second reading as amended, followed by third. Those edits include just providing some clarification that utility rates and CDC South rates kick in as of January 1st, 2026. And then an update, as we've been learning how things work in the real world for billing for emergency services, just putting the cap on that equivalent to what the insurance covers. So you would have seen a few write-offs for amounts in excess of what insurance covers, and this just streamlines our process administratively. So if council has questions, I can attempt to answer them, but we are looking for second reading as amended, followed by third.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions or a motion? Councillor Holly Johnson, please.
I had a quick question about number 15, lease of county-owned lands excluding road allowances or registered road plans. I was just curious how often that comes up. I couldn't recall an instance where I thought I'd seen that in action.
I don't have a specific answer off the top of my head, but we can do the research and get back with an actual count for you, if that's what you're looking for. Let me pop it up here. And this is 15. Bear with me. Lease of county-owned land, excluding road allowances or registered road plans. So this would be like our back 40 out here that we lease out for a couple of head of cattle to maintain the grass. And we have, you know, a few old landfill sites, gravel pits, those types of areas that we let our ratepayers bid on a lease, and this is the minimum for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or a motion to approve for second reading? Councillor Baumgarten.
I'll move that it receives a second reading as amended.
Thank you for that. All in favor, please indicate. Thank you. That's carried. And similarly, a motion to approve third reading. Councillor Hofer, please.
I'll make that motion to approve the third reading.
Thank you for that. All in favor, please indicate. That is also carried. Thank you. So let's move on now to delegations, and we're glad to have Mitch Iwasa here from Brooks Newell Region Economic Development, and you're here to give us a report. Welcome, Mitch. Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thanks. Yeah, it's a bit smaller crowd than I'm used to. The last time I was here, I think there was 10 of you. Now there's just 7. Oh, just because. But it's good to see that the 2 new councillors here that have joined us. There will be some, information that councillors have heard before, but again, with our 2 new councillors, it's nice to reiterate. So what I'm here today is to talk about sort of the practice of economic development and how it relates to municipalities like the County of Newell. And more specifically, how as we, Brooks Newell Region Economic Development, work to carry out this function. What I hope to do is give you some background information on economic development, or ECDEV, I'm going to try and shorten it here, as we like to call it, in general terms to help prepare you for our strategic planning session in February, which you are all invited to. With a better understanding of what economic development is, we'll be able to have a more effective discussion as to what we want our ECDEV efforts to deliver. Over the next few weeks, we'll provide you with more detailed information on what we've done this last year. We can share with you more statistics on programs and services that we've delivered and the specifics of some of the projects we have and continue to work on. However, today, I'd like to focus on the big picture of what economic development is. You have my report, so I won't go through it line by line, but I do want to go through some of the points of the report and give you some food for thought. First off, I want to go over how Brooks Newell Region Economic Development, or BNRED, BNRED, another acronym that you'll probably be seeing over the next little while, has functioned in the past, just as a reminder, and how it has recently changed, especially for those of you who are new to council. In the past, I would report to Joint Services Committee on the various activities of the Economic Development Department. That committee was made up of 3 councillors from this county and 3 from the city, as well as 1 each from Bazzano, Rosemary, and Dutchess. The city and the county were the equal funding partners who provided all of the municipal funding. That funding for the Joint Services Committee not only covered the ECDEV operations and costs, it also funded a wide variety of functions that were deemed as shared intermunicipal initiatives important for our quality of life. That included supporting libraries, museums, recreation, as well as costs related to things like doctor recruitment or memberships in groups like the Palliser Economic Partnership, PEP, another. Well, we're on the acronym side of it. With the changes adopted last year, it was decided that The Economic Development Department should have its own structure that would allow it to focus on the day-to-day operational task it needs to carry out. We look forward to having all of the councillors from across the region being able to have the input into the strategic plan of the Brooks-Newell Region Economic Development at our session on February 11th. So hopefully that's already in your calendars. As a starting point, I would encourage all of you to review our previous strategic plan, which ran from 2022 through 2025. It's located on our website, brooksregion.ca. And all the resources I'll sort of mention today and some others I'll forward in an email here to you, so you don't have to jot that down, but I'll send that along so you can find it. That strategic plan provides a lot of good information on our core strategic focus areas, and it gives you the details on our action plan to carry out our strategy. Also, it'll be a great reference for you as we develop our new strategic plan in the coming weeks. But the big question I want to ask is, what does economic development mean to you? I think in general, we think about it as growing business in our community, and basically that's what it is. It includes helping current businesses to grow and attracting new businesses to the county that enrich our region and give us a higher quality of life. But there are a lot of considerations that go into how we do it. I've listed a number of the key areas of ECDEV in my report and highlighted some of the factors that determine how we operate. The primary function of economic development is what we call business retention and expansion, or BRE. You'll hear that term as well. Across Canada, BRE accounts for around 80% of new jobs created. So that means that those businesses that are already in our community are the important ones. They're the ones that will be hiring most of the new workers. To do that, they need to increase their sales or expand locations, provide new services. So a majority of our day-to-day tasks revolve around meeting our BRE objectives. We do that through things like our business spotlights, beautification programs, helping employers access training and funding programs, or connecting them with parties like partners like Community Futures or Brooks Region Tourism, who we work closely with. However, BRE is not just about expansion, it's also about retention. Every year, we see businesses in our community close down. As nice as it is to attract new businesses, it's more important and valuable to retain the ones we have. Retaining those businesses doesn't mean it needs to stay with the same owner. So that's where our succession planning comes in, especially in the county. Helping farm owners transition their operations to the next generation or new owners outside the family, that has been a strategic priority for us over the last year and a half. One of the other major functions of economic development is business investment and attraction. This, for me, is the fun stuff. That's what the public sees when new businesses open up or a new building gets built. It's helping bring in new businesses, whether it's a new fast food restaurant or hopefully a multi-million-dollar data center, as I look at Neil. These projects not only create jobs and diversify our economy, but also have the potential to grow our tax assessment and help pay for services that the county needs to deliver. To fulfill our investment attraction role, we carry out a number of functions. Many of them fall under our marketing, under a marketing umbrella, whether it's branding, using social media and our website, creating promotional videos, targeted advertising, or just directly contacting investors. That sort of face-to-face, pick up the phone and call people. That's the name of the game. It's all about exposure. It's really a role where I see myself as the salesman for the region. So I want to sort of wrap this up. I want to give you some time to ask questions, so I'll just briefly cover a few of the other points in the report. Beyond the business retention and expansion duties and investment attraction work we do, the other important areas we work on includes workforce development, networking and partner relationships, supporting in other departments like tourism, housing development, and regional opportunities like the CDC South. On top of that, we have an obligation to report and administer all of these functions in a responsible and efficient manner. In any given week, I may be talking with a site selector from Denver, meeting with a local builder, responding to a rural entrepreneur investor from China, dealing with a media inquiry from the CBC, or reporting to council. In fact, I've done all those things in this past week, just to name a few. But that's actually the great thing about the job. It's the variety and the amount of work that we get to do. And I'm fortunate that it's really all about building our community. So in closing, I just ask that you take this report as sort of information, have a look at some of the resources I've mentioned and I'll send along, And prior to our strategic planning, review the detailed information we'll be sending you. We'll be sending you some numbers too. So in terms of those, sort of indicators of what we do. One question we constantly get is, what is the value of the money spent on economic development? So we'll be sending you those numbers and statistics on some of our KPIs prior to strategic planning that show the outreach we have achieved and the growth in spending that is directly related to our activities. However, economic development is one area of municipal government that relies heavily on building relationships, and reporting the results of building those relationships it can be tricky. It's difficult to quantify how much a business grows due to our efforts, or what investments choose to set up shop in the region because of the information they found on our website. On top of that, we have a requirement under the privacy laws not to disclose third-party business interests. I'd love to shout from the rooftop all the investors we're working with or have worked with, or the businesses that we've helped expand it. But, some of that's confidential business information for them. So it's, so other than, say, programs like New Grow or Beautification, where we are directly funding them, and we do make that information public, it's sometimes businesses that we deal with, and so we do need to protect their business interests. So anyways, given what we think is a relatively low expenditure compared to the potential benefits of an effective ECDEV department, we trust that council will see the value in the work we do, and we appreciate your support. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mitch. Are there questions? Councillor Holly Johnson, then Councillor Neil Johnson, please.
When you send out the information for us, will that include some stats on New Grow, like say in the last 5 years, how many companies are still around, or just to help us understand that initiative better?
Sure. So again, we can provide all the information in terms of the actual spending, where those businesses were and where they're located. In terms of operations in that, we do get the immediate report on where the funding went. So they are required to do some follow-up reporting, so we can provide that. Once it's beyond a certain term, we can certainly look and say, this business is still operating or not operating. But again, it's one of those things that at a certain point, it's their private business information. So we can only report sort of what we know. But yes, we will provide those kind of numbers.
Thank you. Councillor Neil.
Just a comment. I think your new format for strategic planning and intermunicipal gathering is going to be fantastic.
Great.
Good idea.
Thank you. Looking forward to your input.
Looking forward to, Councillor Kopp, please.
Do you track like the number of contacts that you feel, okay, for example, you have gone to, it was in Calgary, there was like a Chamber of Commerce, no, it wasn't Chamber of Commerce.
There was InVentures in Calgary.
Okay, some of those things, like, so do you kind of keep track of when you go to that or to the Ag Conference in Medicine Hat as to, like, just some numbers of what you feel you've done for contacts and stuff like that? Will we have that information as well?
Sure. We depends on what it is. When we hold events, we definitely track those numbers of the people we attend. When I go to a conference, or we as a team go to a conference, although really, as of February 1st, I'm the only one on the team, but that's okay. So yeah, we do. I wouldn't say we track it in terms of, I gave out 20 business cards and I talked to these people, because again, it is very hard to qualify what a contact is or the value of a contact. Like I can meet 100 people, but if it's just saying hi, it doesn't mean much. It's the one that you have a good conversation with, build a relationship, and have an ongoing follow-up. So there is a bit of obviously salesmanship is part of it, but also with limited time and resources, you have to sort of qualify it. As a salesperson, you have to say, is this a qualified lead and somebody I need to follow up with? And you never want to cut that person short and say, no, it's a waste of time. You always want to keep that door open. But you have to focus your energy on the ones that will hopefully bring us the best return. So if we had unlimited resources, we can. But yeah, I think to answer your question, we do know the numbers of who we contact, and yeah, so there's a lot of people out there that we keep that relationship open. And it's interesting, you know, again, one of the one contact meeting I had this week with a selector out of Denver was somebody I met at EDAC, Economic Developers Conference in Edmonton a year and a half ago. We had a follow-up meeting shortly after. At that point in time, you know, we sort of agreed to keep in touch and gave them our information on our region and everything else. You know, subscribed to their sort of newsletter, and then there was a follow-up conversation just after this year. We've got something else coming up regarding some large investment opportunities. Can we meet? So it's having that, again, it's getting to know you, getting them to remember you. And we're lucky here. We've got a lot of great assets, not just through our social media, our website, our videos, everything else. Those all help. But the fact that our assets are real right now, whether it's power or renewable energy, water, all these things come into play, and people remember us. I will say this too, and we are lucky that we do work on a collaborative basis, on a regional basis, between the County of Newell, City of Brooks, and the other municipalities. We hear this all the time. We have something here that most places in Alberta don't have, and we're very fortunate that we work together. And you know, I'm lucky in my position that I do get to work throughout this region, because if I were just to work for the county, if I were just to work for the city, so many of the calls I get would say, "Well, it's not my thing," but I can. So we've got a bit of a gem here. I will sort of say that. So, yeah, lots of contacts, and I'll give you some of those lists.
Thanks, Mitch. I've got a comment and a question too. I think, and this is on our end, our role in economic development is partly making sure that our approval and permitting and approval process is sleek and responsive and effective. And so if you ever find that it isn't, or that you've got concerns about us, I mean, we've got opportunity to meet.
Yeah. Marie is not. Yeah, I'll still say they do a great job.
Yeah, no, I do. I think we do too, and that's certainly our goal. One of the things I'd ask from you is do you think that we're truly investment ready generally? And this isn't like, I think if there's things that we can do, because you hear, you know, we've all been exposed to economic development discussions where certain areas are ready, like with an industrial subdivision or something that, or in our case, we've got a rail line running right through our region, and we know that there are containers that are loaded in Calgary instead of here. I've talked to people who would load them here if we had the circumstances or the infrastructure for that. And I guess those are the kinds of things I think we're pretty interested in, if that's something that would make it more effective to attract businesses here. So that's a question. Do you think we're truly ready, and are there things that we could do to be more ready? And that's not just the work that you do, that's what we would do from a regulatory and a land use planning, business planning perspective.
No, it's a good question, because it really is a focus of ours in economic development as a whole, as a practice, is to make sure our municipalities are investment ready. Could we do more? Absolutely. I mean, I would love to be able to do, you know, property assessments not value-wise, but just sort of the asset-wise, put together packages, development marketing packages, and everything else. It's bringing so many stakeholders together. You start with the landowner, you start with the county. Then, if you're talking power generation, now you're talking about all the regulatory bodies that come into that, and what are they willing to do, and water, of course, EID, and everything else. So there is opportunity there. It's a lot of work. I think from a standpoint of being sort of open to the discussion of development, this council and others in the region have been very good about that. You know, so that's important to have that mindset. But there are so many different sort of nuanced little things that come into play. We're aware of broadly what our assets are. So if we get in contact with somebody, we can start sort of picking and choosing and bringing things together on a custom basis, for that particular investment attraction. So I guess, yes, we could do more. It's, again, depending on where we want to focus that energy. If we're putting together packages, a lot of times we're going to say, is that the job of private industry to put together an actual idea of a development park? What do you want to do with this land? Purchase that land. But some municipalities, we see that, are getting involved in that game and starting to develop an industrial park, data center park, or whatever it is, in a sort of a planned basis. And so maybe that's something to consider.
Yeah, no, I think it may be a credible consideration, but go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Kind of a follow-up from Arno's question. I guess I'm curious. So someone calls and looking for a site, I don't know, grain plant or cleaning plant. How much work is that for you? How much time does that take? What's the turnaround? And then how many calls do you get a year? Just roughly to understand your role.
Yeah, so there's obviously a wide variety of ways I get contacted. County, the development department, Chantilly, if they've got somebody here looking for setting up a business and that, she often forwards, average of maybe once a month or once every 2 months, she'll forward something to me directly. Our investment, our rural entrepreneur program, we get probably 3 to 4 inquiries a week through that program. They're a little bit more speculative. Invest Alberta, and I can go in depth on Invest Alberta, who we work with closely. We'll get, a 10 to 12 inquiries from them, and those are more vetted investors that they've gone through, identified as large investors into Alberta, and then they'll do a lot of that groundwork ahead of time for us in terms of what is the investor looking for. So we know right off the bat, okay, we need to find this amount of land with this much power and this type of road access. So it varies quite a bit. If it's, again, you have to sort of judge how legitimate or how realistic it is. Some of them might take me an hour or two, but some might take a day or two to put together. And then if they come and see they want to come and meet with people, we have to arrange meetings with landowners and other suppliers, meetings with the county, meetings with the city. So yeah, it can really vary. And then of course, if it's, hopefully we get to a second stage where that conversation continues. So, they can spend days of work on it, but that's because we're seeing that we're getting some feedback from it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Okay.
Seeing none, we're good, I think.
Great, thanks. I'd like to remind everybody, unfortunately, not all of you can attend the State of the Region next Thursday. A few of you will be there, thankfully, and we've got some good signups for that. Yeah, we hope to hear we'll hear from the Reeve and the Mayor and the Premier as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you. And you're staying for lunch?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that. Let's move on in our agenda to item number 9, Agriculture Services Business. And I will welcome Mr. Todd Green. Happy New Year, if it's still new. It is. Yeah.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
All right, where are we starting today? The wonderful resolutions. I hope you guys had a wonderful time reading through them. There's a lot of great information and background. This would be the first time for Ben and Dan, I guess, Councillor Hofer and Councillor Baumgarten to come to ASB conference, but everybody else is like an old hat, so it's perfect. And just remind me so I don't forget, we do need 2 voting delegates of the, because that is one thing I usually forget, so we will need 2 voting delegates when we go. But in the effort of time, is it okay if I just read the therefore be it resolved and then put a check mark or an X after some discussion? Wonderful. All right, so the first one is on 2% liquid strychnine. Therefore be it resolved that Alberta Agriculture and Irrigation, Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada, Health Canada, with the Pest Management Regulatory Agency, make 2% liquid strychnine available to farmers and ranchers for the 2026 season and beyond. We did discuss this one at the south, and it passed in the south, so I presumed that a check would be a reasonable thing.
Okay, thank you. Do you want us to vote on those, or just, I mean, I think you make the recommendation, and if there's a concern with regard to the direction you're headed, we can have that discussion. That might be efficient, eh? I think that'll work. So you're suggesting we go ahead with that? That just makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. As long as nobody reaches up their hand and gives me a big old no, I'm just going to put a check mark.
Yeah, good, thanks.
All right, so resolution number 2, the exemption of agriculture equipment from Canadian Environmental Protection Act 1999 emission limits. Again, another one that was brought up at the South Region and passed. Do we need to go over this one? I don't see any. All right. The marked fuel program, this one comes out of Starland County, that the ministry, therefore be it resolved that the Ministry of Treasury Board and Finance continue to administer the Alberta Farm Fuel Benefit Program in its current form to ensure that no additional administrative or financial burdens affect agricultural producers.
Councillor Johnson has a question or a comment?
It's a good one.
Yeah, I thought so too. The background made it very easy to support. To be fair, I'm pretty much had a check mark beside all of these. I didn't see anything that was controversial in these resolutions, but I didn't want to make that assumption without the approval of that side of the table. The most important part of the table.
That's who you're talking to.
I'm not even asking for a raise today, and I'm just buttering you guys up. All right, resolution number 4, the Government of Canada and Government of Alberta expand water infrastructure funding to include distribution and service connections for farms, rural residents, and small communities through an equitable cost-sharing program. This one comes from the County of Stettler.
Councillor Johnson has a question or comment.
I'm curious with this one. Do we know, is this really province-wide? Is it certain areas? You know, our county has taken care of this, I think. So do we know if this is more an issue for some counties as opposed to all counties?
I don't know that. Usually it's from the sponsoring municipality that it is has been a hiccup, and that's why the resolutions come forward.
Okay, Councillor Kopp, please.
I think there's a lot of counties that are very jealous of the way ours is set up, and they're probably, a lot of them are looking to be able to attempt to do what we have done here with the rural water. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we just heard from Mitch about how awesome our region is, and truly I'll tell anybody that listens that we are the #1 municipality for a reason, so we're good with supporting our provincial counterparts. All right. All right, and then, so that was all of the resolutions that came from the municipalities, and then the provincial committee has also got a few for us to consider. This is relatively new that the provincial committee submits resolutions for us. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, but I do appreciate what they've done and the resolutions that they've brought forward. The first one is the modernizing of Alberta's rat control program. Therefore, be it resolved that the Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation perform a full strategic review and modernization of Alberta's rat program, ensuring its effectiveness and responsiveness to current and emerging pest management challenges throughout the province. And further be it resolved that the province of Alberta include the creation of a working group composed of members from ASB's RMA, AM, AISC, GOA Ministries, FNM, and adjacent jurisdictions to provide direction and recommendations to the GOA for the modernization of Alberta's rat program. I don't hate it. I think it's a good idea. It's never a bad idea to discuss things. The rat control program has been in effect since the 50s, and it's done an amazing job. The challenge is that we're not in the 50s anymore. We have a lot of people coming and going. Our urban municipalities see a lot more pressure, especially because we're the only jurisdiction that you have to have a license to have a pet rat. So those are things that people don't consider. So maybe it is just time to modernize some things and rediscuss how it's administered. Check. Whew, nailing it. All right. The second one from the Provincial Committee, on-farm meat processing. Therefore, be it resolved that the Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation initiates a comprehensive, transparent, and timely reviews of the on-farm slaughter operation program, including all regulatory changes, licensing requirements, and enforcement measures, be conducted with meaningful stakeholder input with the aim of minimizing administrative burdens and financial uncertainty for small-scale processors. And further be it resolved that the Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation reduce unnecessary red tape and ensure that the regulatory policies do not disproportionately hinder small rural operators and support long-term viability, economic sustainability, and growth of Alberta's local meat production while simultaneously meeting traceability and safe food safety requirements. I see nothing in there that's a bad ask. I'm not confident that I'm well versed on the on-farm slaughter processes, but I think both of those asks are good asks, considering that the program is relatively new, or these regulations are relatively new. So I think there's just good asks there to continue moving that program forward. Check. All right. All right, the legal entity aligned with ASBs. Therefore, be it resolved that the Ag Service Board Provincial Committee investigate options for establishing a formal legal entity that aligns with the duties and mandates of Ag Service Boards, or ASBs, that is empowered to work with industry and government on activities resulting from ASB advocacy and resolutions. And I can only assume this is a hiccup that they've came across when they're working through their mandate, because I believe that the mandate is that is what the Ag Service Board Provincial Committee does. And maybe because they're not a legal entity, they're just a group of municipalities, maybe that's why they don't have the same clout that they're looking for. RMA must be a legal entity. Somebody might know that better than me. And maybe that's just the next step to make us have a little more clout with the provincial bodies that we work with.
Okay, I suppose that will be explained further too. I mean, there is some explanation following the whereas, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part of these provincial committee resolutions. They come to us at the nth hour, and we haven't deliberated them regionally. So it's truly outside of the background. That's the only information we have. We haven't been able to deliberate with our peers yet. Mm-hmm. So hopefully there is some more discussion on this.
Yeah. Okay.
Not knocking their process. It's just a process that's relatively new for me. All right. PC number 4, urgent reforms to CFIA and PMRA. This is probably an easy one. The Government of Canada, therefore be it resolved that the Government of Canada urgently implement changes to the mandates, processes, and accountability structures of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and Pest Management Regulatory Agency, including enabling legal authority to meaningfully consider and respond to feedback from industry stakeholders and Canadians. And further be it resolved that the Government of Canada immediately move CFIA and PMRA from Health Canada back under Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada to restore alignment with agriculture and improve responsiveness, and that both agencies be legally required to factor in practical on-farm realities, business disruptions, animal welfare, and scientific evidence when making decisions. This was probably the easiest one for me to support. I think that's been a concern when we talk about strychnine and all sorts of other tools getting taken from our toolbox, just why they were making that decision. I think this was an easy one to put a check mark beside.
And yeah, hopefully they expand that to include a whole range of things, including animal traceability, and which I suppose the Health Canada connection may be taking them over to the top sometimes, but some of the things that they're imposing are unrealistic.
Yeah.
And the whole matter of scientific backing for what they're doing in terms of effectiveness is sometimes lost on them, I think.
That's a good word for it. There's a good disconnect there between the on-farm realities. All right, so I'm going to put 2 check marks besides that one. 3? Okay. All right, then Emergent Resolution 1, the vacant biological control scientist position. Therefore, be it resolved that Alberta's Agriculture Service Board's request that Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada to immediately fill the vacant research scientist, weed biologist control position with AAFC Lethbridge Research and Development Centre to restore Canada's critical capacity for biocontrol research and protect producers and land managers from the impact of invasive species. So maybe you guys aren't quite familiar with this one. This would be a hard one if you're not involved in the processes on the ground. But there's multiple ways to control weeds. One of them is obviously chemical. Another one's the mechanical methods, mowing, picking, that kind of thing, cultivation. And another one is using biological agents, typically bugs. That's what this position supports. Is so the bugs come from other jurisdictions. We note that they have good control work being done on, let's say it's common tansy in, I don't know, it's overseas. I know it's overseas because that's the one they're currently working on. So once they note that this bug would be acceptable to Canada, then that scientist needs to determine that that bug is going to work in Canada and it's going to have no detrimental effects on other vegetation. And that's the part that we're missing now, is we don't have anybody locally to do that anymore. And so that's what the MD of Ranchland is asking to reinstate that position. That's a good ask. It's a great ask. Not necessarily for our county because, again, we're number one. We're very clean in the most part. But other municipalities need some help from bugs just to take care of stuff.
Hey, I know a place they could do the research, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right, and then the one, the last one, emergent resolution is on CFIA, livestock traceability update concerns. So therefore be it resolved, the Government of Canada, specifically the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the Government of Alberta, suspend the implementation of additional mandatory livestock traceability regulations under Part 15, and I knew Roman numerals, for a minimum 3 years and until a comprehensive risk assessment is completed that fully evaluates the impacts on small-scale and mixed farming operations, as well as the broader downstream effects on rural communities. Further be it resolved that the Government of Canada, specifically the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the Government of Alberta, maintain the pause on the proposed Part 15 amendments until regionally representative consultations are completed and producer feedback is incorporated into any revised regulatory framework. And that came out of Stettler, and we should give kudos where they're due, because this was very well written in a very short amount of time. We worked sort of as a group. Stettler did all the hard work, but I think she made a ton of phone calls and pulled together a great resolution, in my opinion, in a very short amount of time.
Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
I would just like to add to that that I know one transporter of livestock said they weren't even sure they could survive with these kind of regulations, as well as the auction market has great concerns as well. So it's right through the industry. And I don't know if there's an option to add that, I won't be at the conference, but just, it could be widened to more sectors in the industry that are very concerned, if that would be add any weight to it or not.
Is this directly related to the recent traceability bump that they've, I think something, I mean, if you have an opportunity to discuss it in context with, I mean, the people discussing it with CFIA, I mean, they've lost sight of what the original purpose of traceability was and where the dynamic comes in. Somehow they need to go back and review the history, and that previous move to separate or move back into agriculture might help, not necessarily completely, but there's a clear need to go back and look at what the purpose of this was and how what they're implementing really doesn't meet any of those requirements. So that's a good one.
No, you certainly don't have to convince me.
No.
This was an easy one for me. So beyond that, I didn't forget, we need to make a motion to have 2 voting members.
Who all is attending the Ag Service Board conference? So, and as well as Councillor Chrisman and Councillor Screever not, or is?
Yes, Greg is coming.
Greg is coming, yeah. Okay. So who do we want to appoint to be our voting delegates? Dan will volunteer?
He can't go first, so I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it again.
Adina, Dan and Adina? All in favor of Dan and Adina being our voting representatives? All in favor, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Is that it?
Not quite.
No.
Depends if you want me to
That's
keep
right.
going or not.
No, let's keep going, yeah.
All right. We have a additional spending request. This comes from Agriculture for Life. They reached out and asked us to consider an increase in our annual funding. So a little bit of summary that we have worked with Agriculture for Life for quite a few years. It's outlined here. 2019 was the first time we sponsored their Ag for Life farm safety trailer. And then instead of doing ad hoc initiatives with them, we decided to do the $1,500 sponsorship every year. They are requesting that we increase that to $2,500 a year. And I guess the question today is whether we want to do that during the 2026 season or add that into a future budget deliberations for future years.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kopp, please.
My question would be, are they increasing what they're doing, or are costs just going up for them?
Do you have an answer to that? I mean, reading the background or the explanation, we haven't changed that funding in how many years? More than 10 years.
6 years for us.
6 years. Certainly costs have gone up significantly, and even in the last 2 or 3 years, we've recognized how our costs have gone up. It just seems to me that we've seen the value in that, or we've recognized value in the past in that program. I can understand that their costs have gone up, but I don't think they've expanded their program all that much, but they continue to respond to needs, I think. And,
yeah, and I wouldn't know the entire background of that organization, but they do have the 2 trailers now, the Know Your Food trailer and the Farm Safety trailer. We have taken advantage of their services. They've come out to our Ag Days twice. When they roll in with those 2 trailers and 6 people to be there all day and work with the kids to go through that, I mean, we've seen the value of our $1,500 probably tenfold. So it wouldn't be an unreasonable ask. I just didn't know if we wanted to make that amendment now or push it out. So.
Seems to make sense to me, but Councillor Johnson, go ahead.
I'd like to move option 1 that we include a $2,500 sponsorship for Ag for Life in our 2026 final budget.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. And I think item 9.3 we're taking in camera a little bit later. So that's your report. Thank you.
See you later.
Yes. Let's move on to administrative business, or is it lunchtime?
It's not here yet. We might as well.
Okay, let's go. Okay, we don't have lunch here. Let's keep going. I'm in favor of that. Provincial education and
I'll take this one.
oh, Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure Shannon's upstairs listening live and scurrying down here, but I'll take this one for. We're looking for a motion. You'll see it there. I'm not going to read that because those are way too many numbers. But this is a formality. It gets the application in for the provincial education requisition credit and the designated industrial requisition credit. This is all about the bad actors who don't pay their bills, and maybe with license, you know, we can list these bad actors at the encouragement of our friends up in the capital: Alpha Bow Energy, Antera Energy, Crimson Oil and Gas, Cycle Energy Limited, Golden Spike Energy, Houston Oil and Gas, Mutiny Oil and Gas, Sandling Energy, Sino Western Petroleum, for a total of $11,069 in unpaid taxes. So if council is amenable to making that motion, Shannon will send the application in, and the province will pony up a couple of bucks back to us for money that we have sent to the capital for both the education requisition and the designated industrial requisition. So you'll see a couple of dollars coming back to the treasury, which is good news. We don't see all the municipal taxes coming back, but a little's better than nothing.
Okay, thanks. Someone prepared to make the motion listed under 10.1.1? Go ahead.
Well, first I have a question, I guess. Are we, it's every year we see a number of these come forward, unfortunately. Are we nearing the end of having write-offs, or do we have a lot other small companies that might be in the same situation down the road?
That's a crystal ball I don't have clarity on. It would be really great if we could sort this out with the province. And to the province's credit, you know, there are a few working groups at it: the Property Tax Accountability Strategy and the Assessment Model Review Group. All that bureaucratic work is pretty slow. So there is an effort. We'd like to see a world where oil and gas prices are sufficient that these guys make money hand over fist and can pay their municipal taxes without issue. But that's not the current reality for us.
Thank you, Councillor Neil Johnson. You make the motion.
Prepared to make the motion.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Let's move on to item 10.2, Rural Municipalities of Alberta Spring 2026 Convention Meetings with Ministers. Ariana, please.
All right, thank you. One sec here. All right, Spring Rural Municipalities of Alberta Convention. The date is March 16th to 18th. So I have booked hotels for all of you, assuming everyone's going to be in attendance. Things, if you don't plan to attend the convention at all, please let me know as soon as possible. There are 3 elected officials education program courses, council's role in land use planning and approvals, council's role in service delivery, and council's role in strategic planning. I wrote down underneath on the RFD the people that have not completed the course. If you plan to take one of the courses, I will register you and add an additional night to your hotel room. The main thing, the main purpose of this report is determining which meetings with ministers you'd like to meet with during the convention, because we need to get requests in fairly quickly. I've listed meetings that have happened in the recent past. We have one email. The Minister of Municipal Affairs is taking requests for meetings that must be submitted before January 23rd and include up to 3 discussion topics with some details related to policies or issues directly related to the Municipal Affairs Department. So yeah, I guess what I'm looking for today is which ministers do you want to meet with, which topics do you want to talk about, and we'll get that part started.
So I would just say, I think the newish Minister of Municipal Affairs, we probably haven't met in a formal meeting. Are there some things we could discuss with him if we request a meeting with him? Where are we at for that? Because I think it would be worth getting familiar, making the connection with him. Matt, do you have some, Neil?
What about Grant Hunter as a new minister, just to lay the path for a relationship? He's quite influential. He was through SEWA and CDC.
Yeah, he's the new Minister of the Environment, yeah.
I don't know if we have an issue with him or not, but just to say hello would be good.
We can talk about irrigation with them, water use.
You can always talk irrigation.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Councillor Holly Johnson.
Does the issue of invasive species in the waterways, like zebra mussels, what minister does that fall under? Was that RJ or is that now Grant?
Environment, I think, is where the action was going to take place, so that would be one thing we should talk to him about. And I think there's probably some reason for that. I mean, it's worth, that's certainly one topic agenda for either of those ministers, agriculture or environment. Do you need to have the topics in hand when you make the request or not?
It is a good idea
Yeah.
to have your topics. They're going to ask for them anyway.
Yeah.
You could start with a couple and then add more later.
Yeah. What else in environment? Go ahead.
Is there any thing that environment's involved in as far as data center?
I think
approvals, things like that, because that's going to be a pretty hot topic if everything I think comes true.
I think we could update with regard to what's happening at Newell Regional landfill and the
Well, that's a big one.
Energy from waste, that should be with the environment minister. Municipal affairs as well, or not so much? Not so much, obviously, but Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, municipal affairs, you could have a long list depending what rises to the top. You know, police funding model, the impact on county finances, declining capital grants. I mean, 2026 budget, we talked about the 10-year projection on average. You're looking at about $19 million commitment for your capital replacement, and you're receiving, you know, just over $2 million from the province. So just, I think with a new minister, it's always good to get the issues in front of them, have frank conversations. The property tax accountability strategy, assessment model review, that whole unpaid oil and gas tax, I mean, that'll be a broken record for them, but I think there's a laundry list of things you could potentially put at the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Yeah, broken record, but a different tune from the County of Newell, right? Yeah, sounds good. Okay, anything else? Any other ministers? We met with transportation in fall, but we didn't have any burning issues, but so I don't know that there's much follow-up there necessarily. Agriculture, I think we should be good there. Okay. Neil?
Isn't there a data minister?
That's not specifically, but that falls under does it, or is it,
Minister of Tech and Innovation.
Yeah. Yeah, let's meet with him. Yeah.
I think that's a good one, just to get our faces in there and partake in the party.
Okay. Okay, any others? Seeing none, I think we should be good with that. If depends what our batting average is, I guess. Ariana, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the first time that this is going to come up. I'll bring it back to a future council meeting with updates.
Right, for some updates, but you'll get, that gives you opportunity to get the letters in, eh? Okay, thank you. Councillor payment sheets, those have been circulated. Are there any questions or a motion to accept the councillor payment sheets? If they've been reviewed. Any questions, Councillor Johnson?
No, I'll move to accept the council payment sheets for November.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate that it's carried. Thank you. Now, councillor payment sheets for December. Is someone prepared to make a motion to accept those? Councillor Hofer. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Requests for functions of council. Do you want to do that now or wait till after lunch? It's 10 after, pardon me? Lunch is here. Let's break for lunch. Thank you. Grasslands, yeah. Let's, let's reconvene our meeting. I think all the councillors are here. I'm going to suggest, you ready if we go to the Grasslands presentation? So let's start with introductions, and then we'll invite Grasslands to come up to talk about the Brooks Junior High School. So Neil, go ahead.
I'm Neil Johnson, Division 7, just northeast of Brooks. Rep, welcome.
Ben Hofer, Division 8, Duchess.
Adina Scandrup, Division 2, the hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Arno Dirksen, Division 9, the GEM area and the rural community around Rosemary.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good afternoon. Holly Johnson, Division 4, the areas around Scandia, Rainier, Bow City, Castles, and Antelope Creek.
Hey there, Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Hello, Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Hello, Catherine Siaklik, Communications Officer.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Blaine Hoffman, resident of Brooks. I don't know how much introduction you need, but originally from Scandia. My family still lives out there, so been around here my whole life.
Becky Senecal, a resident of Brooks, former teacher and business owner.
Ryan Slenders, resident of Scandia.
I'm Jared Hofer. I'm principal at Brooks Junior High School, a County of Newell resident, and kind of the person who's going to do a lot of chatting today.
Hi, Ryan Schroeder, Associate Superintendent Business Services for Grasslands.
And Mark Herbeck, Director of Municipal Services.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So if I think you've got a presentation you'd like to, sorry? Okay, Jared, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, yeah. Well, you can stand, but touch that mic so that we can hear you. But
some packages. I don't know if you guys got that one here, but there's just some clear pictures of some things so everyone can get an idea. I'm a little unsure of how much everyone knows or sees in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here.
We're live streaming too, so if you're welcome to stand, but just stand close to the mic.
I'll behave. Okay. I'll behave.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe the microphone is on. Let me start off by thanking the County of Newell for having Brooks Community Football and Grasslands Public Schools come and do a presentation on our proposed multi-sport complex outdoor field at the Brooks Junior High School. Sorry, I'm going to switch mics. I'm on the wrong side. Okay, to begin with, as I was saying before, I'm Jared Hofer. I'm principal of the Brooks Junior High School. I've been a resident of Brooks in the County of Newell since I was born in 1972. Born and raised in Brooks, attended school in Brooks, and since about 2004, I've lived out at Lake Newell Resort. I've been very, very active in giving back to the community and coaching. I was also very fortunate to be to a lot of communities because of sport and seeing what other communities have. I was also a delegation of the Team Alberta football team that went down to Dallas, Texas. I spent 10 days in the incredible state of Texas where football is kind of like hockey up here, and saw a lot of facilities, which gave me an opportunity to see what could be if we had the opportunity. So that's kind of a little background on my experience with things. Obviously, we're here today to request some financial support for our field complex, and I'm a little unsure of how much everyone knows. So I have a big presentation here, but I can go quicker if you need me to speed it up. But I want to make sure everyone sees exactly what we're presenting here and what we're trying to do. beautiful picture here of a conceptual drawing of what that field would look like. And in your one package that you have, what you would see is that field is basically located currently where the Brooks Junior High School stands. On the right-hand side is actually that alley with all the mature trees that's going to be there. You can see there's a little bit of road at the top of the picture there. That's that old existing bus lane that used to be in there. That gives you an idea of where this field is going to fit so perfectly in conjunction with the school, but also in the heart of the community, which is accessible to people. So when I get to my second page, I kind of wanted to lay out all the things I was going to talk about. So this is kind of like my little agenda of what I thought I would go through. And so that is there, and it'll follow in that order. I'm going to keep going. So we'll start off. As I was saying before, I was Jared Hofer. We do have a few members of our Brooks Community Football group who are part of our fundraising, not our whole group, that are here. And so Blaine Hoffman already introduced himself. You want to wave Blaine. Blaine was a Scandia kid, and I remember when I taught at the high school in 1999. He was in grade 10. And was playing there with the Buffaloes from Scandia. We have Ryan Slenders. I was fortunate enough to teach, and I think I got to coach you for 1 year way back in those days as well. Becky Sanical, she's a former colleague of mine who I've taught with, and Becky has a very strong interest in the community and athletics, and she's joined our team. And I believe that's all we have today. Unfortunately, Pete Falkenberg had something come up and couldn't make it. So those are some of the people who are joining us here. Really interesting on this page here, I just have 2 pictures. The picture up top was our team last year from the Roadrunners, the Bantam football team, and we were provincial champs. And we got to host the provincial football game, but unfortunately we didn't have a field because of the construction of the junior high, and we wouldn't have been able to host it anyways because the provincial requirements in Football Alberta is a field turf field. And unfortunately, we did lose the provincial final in a very close game. We had to host Red Deer in Medicine Hat because that's just the demands. The picture down below was just a picture from this season at that beautiful field in Medicine Hat, and something that we are hoping we can secure here in our community. So why are we seeking assistance? And so I'm going to go through all the things because I don't know if I have to sell you on the idea of turf or the facility. So I'm kind of covering all my bases here. And the first one is it's to build a state-of-the-art multi-sport field that truly is needed in our community. When I say multi-sport, I'm talking about our outdoor sports. A couple years ago, I had the president of Grassland Soccer Society come to me, Mark, and he was like, you know, Jarrett, will Grasslands be able to maintain their fields to a certain level because Soccer Alberta wants us to host provincials? And so then I contacted Alan Klepper, head of maintenance, and we were looking at things, and Soccer Alberta came to Brooks and they took a look at our fields and they said, sorry. You got wonderful soccer kids here, but what you have for facilities don't meet our standard. We need that game type field, that game type stadium-like atmosphere, just to put us in line with what a lot of other communities have. And I'll show that a little later. So I really think it's something that, I know it's something I want, maybe needs a strong word, but something I would highly advocate for. The other thing is we are an incredibly unique and kind of one-time opportunity to partner with so many different levels of government. I think when I was driving by here passing the CRA, how all the chips had to land in the right spot where the county and the city and different levels of government, it all had to just work to have a beautiful hockey facility. Well, in this opportunity, with the demolition of the existing Brooks Junior High School, there's already going to be some groundwork happening. With the building of the new school, there's already services being run. And this is the opportunity to build a field when you have that level of multi-levels of government that can work together in cooperation. The other beautiful thing is the land is free. Now, when I say free, it's already paid for and owned by the school division. But in terms of our community looking to build a facility like this, if it wasn't provided by grasslands, we'd be looking at now, do we have to purchase land somewhere? Or where is that land? And the where, I think, is vitally important. When you look at the location of this field, where there's access for students who can use it during the school day, when you look at the access, how close it is in town in conjunction to the JPS Canada Centre. And so it allows you to use that facility for dressing rooms and in conjunction. When you look at that it's by the school, the new school is going to have extra parking. And I don't really like going this way, but it's also really nice that it is close to the hospital. Bottom line, if you've ever had kids in sports, accidents happen, and it's nice to have that kind of access nice and close. As I was saying before, with the construction of the new Brooks Junior High School, when I say we, Brooks Community Football has been without an adequate game field for the past 2 seasons. It has resulted in every single one of our games by our bantams and our peewees and our high school teams having to travel either to Messenhat or Tabor or other communities to play. And I know a lot of people might say, well, there's still the high school field. And we do have the high school field. And, when I played football in Brooks in the mid-'80s, and the field was great. Since then, if you've been behind the high school, they've added a parking lot in behind, and it cut off the end zones. They built a fence, and it just isn't regulation size. So we continue to practice there. But what you'll see in some of the pictures moving ahead, when you practice with 3 football teams on the same field, day in and day out, and you have high school phys ed classes on that same field, day in and day out, and then you add in the drought that we've had the last couple of years, that poor field just doesn't stand a chance. So, as I was saying, we don't have that. I said before, it is a provincial standard for a lot of sports, and it is the direction of a lot of municipalities. As I said before, we want to go with turf because the field turf field, it sustains that high usage and sustains it, and it looks amazing all the time. Another thing I'll talk about is if you go to a field turf facility, it really provides us to remove snow in a way that allows the field to be safe. You'll see pictures later on. I coached the Roadrunners football team for a little over 20 years. We hosted 3 provincial finals in that time, and I felt that field hindered our team because it was ice, and we weren't as big as the big city schools, and we got pushed around, and it was slippery. But I'll go over that. But the field turf fields really allow for the extension of use on those facilities. Even today, you could be outside playing on that field today with all the snow gone and not worrying about the mushy as the frost is coming out of the ground. And the last part of this, I keep on talking about a field a lot, but this proposal also includes the discussion of a field house, which has public washrooms, an area for a small concession, a gated entry, grandstands where fans can truly see from a high vantage point, a lighted field like what we used to have at the junior high school, a digital score clock, a sound system or public address, and dressing rooms for the visiting team. And that's just not football. That facility would be open to all sports groups that would come in. If Grassland Soccer Association wanted to play soccer there, which we would sure hope they would have access to those dressing rooms. If we were to host other events in the community, how many of you remember the city of Brooks in Canada Day? They used to do the movie in the park, and they would put up a blow-up screen, and they would show a movie there. This facility would have that type of capability. It's just not athletics. It would be a gathering space for multiple sports. A couple of them that I've left off. Field lacrosse. Right now in Brooks, we play a lot of box lacrosse indoors and rinks. If any of our children are looking to play outdoors, we don't have a true outdoor lacrosse field. this would serve as that. We don't have a team like that yet, I think, because there isn't a facility. We don't have rugby in Brooks, but I know in talking with some of my neighbors, the South African doctors who are big rugby supporters, they would love the opportunity to have a chance to have their children learn and see how to play rugby, and the facility like this would have that. So this facility encompasses a lot of things, and this is kind of the why we feel this is a value asset added thing that we need in our community. So I'm going to try and talk about the scope of the project and some of the drawings. This map here is just a conceptual drawing of what the school ground looks like. And when we originally were going through this process, when I say we, now I'm talking Grasslands Public Schools with Rian, Alberta Infrastructure and Education and the architects had drawn a track in this area. But unfortunately, the space wasn't big enough for a 400-meter track because we were getting a replacement school, which meant we got a track, we got a football field. Well, when you don't have a 400-meter track, which is kind of the industry standard for hosting events such as the Southern Alberta Summer Games, it also meant it wasn't big enough to house a football field or even a soccer pitch inside of it. And Rian did some great communication with Alberta Infrastructure and Alberta Education and had them do something they've never done before. They agreed to help pay for removing that track and moving it over at Eastbrook Elementary School. So I know some people drive by and they see all the construction there and they're like, oh, that's where they're putting the football field. No, that one is specifically a track with a soccer pitch in the middle of it. And then that left us with just enough room to squeeze a full-size football field in this beautiful, truly beautiful location. Those trees along the alley on the east, how can you build a facility like this out in the open in a new piece of land and start over with the trees? This is decades. Those trees are 70 years old and it's beautiful. So this is the layout. I love to point out the fact that the parking, because that's something that comes out a lot. People are like, Jarrett, you know, the parking's going to be tight. And I said, well, we always had the field in that location. And with the renovation of the new school, our staff parking lot went from 36 stalls to 84 stalls. Because when we're in this location, we have access to Holy Family Academy staff parking lot after event hours. Because of this location, we also take advantage of all the parking that's currently at the JBS Canada Centre. And usually when these sports are played in an outdoor field, we're not competing with hockey, who uses that spacing. So it allows the doubling up of all of these things that are already in place. So this is kind of the layout. The other thing is with the addition of this bus lane, it's going to take traffic off of 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue, which is needed in our community. It takes all the buses during the school day off, but come the time when you play a game, whether it's football or soccer, that's a lot of parking. That is a lot of parking. So we're really, really excited about the layout here. As I said before, this is an incredible opportunity to partner up with Alberta Infrastructure during the construction. I already said that this central location, it is so important for our youth to be able to access something that is close. Our football practices typically happen right after school. When you start looking at soccer, where are most of the kids? They're in that building. And all they need to do is leave that and they're right there for their field. So this location, this whole project, it really takes advantage of so many things. And if, by the way, I'm going, I don't know if the procedure is you have a question you want to ask it now or if it's later.
What's the length of your presentation? I should ask you that to start with. But,
how am I doing for time now?
Well,
pick it up.
But I mean, we will have questions after, I think. So if
I'll pick it up. It's big. Like I didn't know how much to cover or not cover, and I'd rather be prepared and remove stuff.
By asking, I'm not. It's not lack of interest. It's just, I think.
Okay. I feel that if I'm going somewhere and you have a question, feel free to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, because you may forget by the time I get through. So our timeline of our project. So the completion of the new Brooks Junior High School is September 3rd, 2026. We will have students in the new school. The demolition of the existing school won't take place, we're told right now, till March of 2027. And as soon as the demolition of that school is complete, construction on the new field will take place. And so the idea would be at the beginning of, or the fall of 2027, we will once again have a field for our kids to play on. Obviously next year we'll go our third season in a row without a game facility to play any home games on. I have a second phase there, which depending on how funding goes, if we don't have enough funds secured to do the field and the field house, then we've looked at phase one, the field is the must. Phase two would then be the field house. In an ideal world, while we have Alberta Infrastructure here and Lear Construction, we just get it all done at the same time. But if you don't have the money, yeah, so when I start taking a look at the cost part, and I'll kind of touch on top of that. So this cost analysis was provided to us by the architects who are building on our project, so FWBA Architects. When we talk about phase one, we're looking at about $3 million in total for the whole project. Phase one, the field itself and the field turf. That sells for roughly $1 million for a football field. I want to put this in comparison. If you were doing sod, rolls of sod, sells for $4 a square foot. A football field's 100,000 square feet. You'd be spending $400,000 just for grass. So I look at just the benefits of the field turf. To me, it makes a lot of sense. As Rian was saying, the groundwork. So they're digging the hole. We're already going to have people who have to come in and fill. Now, a field turf field has different materials and there'll be different costs, but equipment is going to be doing that work, whether it's going to be field turf or whether it's going to be grass. When we start talking about the services for the field house, when we have that ripped up, we're running and planning for the future for that field house. So power, natural gas, water, sewer, it's going to be located where the potential field house will go, because that's just good planning to do while it's there. The new lighting, unfortunately, we tried saving the old lighting, and I was kind of the person responsible for fundraising that and doing that with the Rotary Club of Brooks. We did that back in 2001. Times have changed. In 2001, that was a $58,000 project. New lights now are about $200,000. When we ripped the old lights out, they had a 10-year expectancy. We put them in 2001. We got great usage out of them, but unfortunately, they couldn't be repurposed. The posts didn't come out well. They wouldn't back them if we put them back up, so we're having to start over with our lights. And obviously in phase one, there will have to be some cement and concrete work that is done, and I can show that a little further on. The phase two of the project would be that field house. And the one thing that I left out on that field house is there's a second tier. And in that second tier, there's dressing rooms for the officials. There is a public address and minor officials area where you'd run the score clock and call the game. There's also windows on either side there for the home team and the visiting team, for coaches to be up there and for people to watch. And that type of facility, if you look down below at the bottom of the picture, that's how we've been mimicking it for a lot of years. We have 3 sea cans. They're durable. We don't worry about them in the strong wind like today. The rain stays out, but you should see our little Adam kids who are 6 and 7 years old trying to get changed when the door's shut and there's no lights in there. The trailer on the right-hand side, we were very fortunate a number of years ago when he was still alive, Dave Hemsing, he had bought some Atco trailers from the Christ the Redeemer School Division. And that building was actually the hallway the ATCO trailers were lined up in are portable classrooms. He took the portable classrooms and used 2 with his business, and I think he donated 1 that's still sitting out at the ball diamond. And he gave us the hallway, which we makeshifted into a locker room. Right now, that picture is at Brooks Composite High School, so we had to move them. We do not have water. So if our children don't show up with a water bottle, they don't have water. We don't have bathrooms. We don't have power. We don't have lights. This year, our football team went to the league finals. We played it on, I believe, November 14th. It's cold out, and you hang your equipment up, and it's not heated. You get wet. It doesn't dry. There's lots of issues there. Have we made it work? You betcha. We have made it work. Is it ideal? No. What would be ideal is what we're trying to complete with that field house.
What's the numbers on the field house cost-wise? Or do we have that already?
About $850,000. Now, that's from FWBA. And so when I met with our Brooks Community Football fundraising group, we're like, okay, so 120-foot building by 35-foot wide. If we hired Armor Building, for example, to build us that, which is, a wood structure with tin clad, I'm pretty sure we can do that cheaper. However, how we want to build that and to what standard, there might be some expectations from grasslands, insurance, how does that building look compared to the school? So that's the cost estimate there. And I think it's a healthy number. I'm pretty sure we can build that building within that price line. I'm not a building expert myself, but as a local business person myself, I realize what some of that stuff costs to build. Anyone else on the cost estimates?
So roughly 2.7 million all in, like both projects, phase 1 and 2? Have I got that right?
3 million.
3 million, okay.
Yeah. Where are we now? So the city of Brooks has officially committed $500,000 at this point. They have officially committed $250,000 from the 2025 budget. They've officially committed another $250,000 from this 2026 budget, with the recommendation from their 2027 and 2028 budgets for another $500,000. And we were obviously thrilled with that news. When I start taking a look at the project and where the funds are going to come from, we need a commitment from municipal governments. I also believe there has to be an accountability from the community. I mean, you folks here are accountable to your taxpayers. And I get that money isn't free and that has to come from somewhere. And I don't think if we as a organization can't get community support, well, then how are you going to have support as elected officials to make those decisions? I can tell you that I've been talking about this for about 5 years with lots of people, and I know I have a lot of support. I know I do. I know this is something we need in our community. But we have that money from the city, and what we're looking at doing is Brooks Community Football. We have a number of fundraising opportunities that we're looking at. If you want me to describe what they are and what our goals are, I can.
What's the number? What do you expect to raise? Would be my question. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the?
I can tell you this. In my own head, before we met as a large group, I was like, if we were at that 1 million to 1.5 million, which we're already at 1 basically from the city, if you are successful in securing the community facility program grant, the large, it's $1 million, but you have to have matching funds. If you have matching funds of $1 million and you get that grant, you're there. Now, the grant money has to be money that isn't already allocated from another grant. So if the city of Brooks was giving us money and let's say 250,000 of it was from a grant that they received for Parks and Rec, they can't turn around and double that. If $250,000 from the city of Brooks is through taxes, that can be used to double on the program side. So there's the grant, and I think the grant is a big part. When I look at what Brooks Community Football was doing, my initial, this is just me, without the rest of the group before we met, I was like, can we find 50 businesses, entities, service clubs, alumni, who would be willing to do $5,000 each to raise $250,000. When I went with our group, they're quite confident that we could raise more. And part of that is, and what I have here is the school division has laid it out that there's the possibility of naming rights. And so are there larger corporations that would like to have naming rights? And we all know what the larger corporations are here in Brooks. And we're talking the field could be named. The field house could be named. There could be someone who wants to buy the $200,000 lights and have that advertisement. There could be someone who wants to buy a $100,000 score clock and have that recognized there. You asked how much?
That's good.
I would say we are feeling pretty confident that we would be around that 500,000 that we'll be able to raise.
Okay. How much, there must be a cost savings if you did it all at once now rather than wait till phasing it, right? Do you know what that is?
I'm going to look at Rian because part of the complex issue in all of this is we have Alberta Infrastructure, and they are responsible for giving us a replacement field, which is grass. And they are doing a bunch of work. And Alberta Infrastructure has hired Lear Construction to do that work. Now, Lear Construction is on board. Now, if we change the scope of the project, how much of it is covered by who and what and who does the work? And I know I haven't had those conversations because that's Rian.
Could you, sorry, Rian, yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I think the major cost savings, Arno, is that the work would be done right away and everyone is on site. So we save all of the costs with having to have everybody come back at a later date. And also the fact that they wouldn't be building a grass field. So that's a savings as well because we'd be going straight into the turf. Because if they built the grass field, they'll have to put money into that. They'd have to put in irrigation, all of those things, where we're not going to be doing any of that. And everybody's already on site, so we wouldn't have to have them come back.
That would be Alberta Infrastructure.
Right.
Question is if they could get there. Yeah, okay. I got you. Good, sounds good. Thank you. Yeah.
Arno, it's like I said before, the opportunity for all the chips to land in the right places, it's there if we plan and we organize and we mobilize. It's there. But if we just don't say anything.
What's the time frame? Like if this was to happen, is like the school's going to be done by fall. When would this happen? If let's say hypothetically that it just was going to go.
They will start. So the school has a lot of asbestos in it, so it has to be all taken care of. So it'll be the spring of 2027 before they actually demolish the school. So as soon as that is done, then they would start working on the field. So spring of 2027.
Yeah, but the work, theoretically, the work wouldn't stop. They get the school.
Right. They would just go straight into the field prep. Yeah.
Theoretically, that field, if it was all done at once, will be ready to go for September of make sure I get my years right, 2027. September of 2027. Yeah, like I said, it's just that opportunity. Sorry, there was a question over here.
Go ahead, Holly.
I just wanted to know what it costs to replace a turf field, like how long a turf field lasts and when replacement comes in. I've heard questions about that. I just don't know anything about it.
That's a great question, because one of the advantages I talk about with turf is you're not watering it, you're not putting in irrigation, you're not cutting the grass, but it does have maintenance. And with a turf field, the majority of the maintenance is they got these it's rubber grass, and it's however long, and then it is filled with recycled rubber pellets, and it's black. And if you've ever watched any games or been on those fields, like if I had my runners on even from this fall, I bet I still have rubber pellets in there. And what happens is you take them home. You take all these rubber pellets, and so the maintenance on the field is rubber pellets being reinstalled. And that usually happens, like when I've talked to the people at Medicine Hat Tackle Football, Medicine Hat, they said the city of Medicine Hat usually replaces pellets once every 5 years. Now, in terms of the duration of it, because that's, there's the pellets, but how long the field works. I mean, it depends on how hard you're on it. When I say hard, I'm not talking people on it. I'm talking equipment on it, because it can rip. So if you're removing snow with a blade and dig in, you can rip it, and then it has to be reattached and everything else. If you do it with a rotisserie, we're missing the right word here. Anyways, one of my spinning snow removers, it lasts a lot longer. So I've been told the manufacturer will say, your turf field is good for 20 years. The one in Medicine Hat, I believe, was placed in 2007. It looks as good today. I could be wrong on that date, maybe 2008, but it looks outstanding. So it's hard for me to say the exact length, because it'll depend on durability. But it's the same thing as the lights. Musco Lighting said 10 years, Jarrett, that's what you get. Well, we used them for 24 years, and they would still work today if they were still in that spot.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? How are you doing for more to present? Or
I'm going good. Well, I think my agenda had 9 items, and then I have kind of a slideshow of things for people to look at, like just pictures. So I'm doing great.
Okay.
If you guys are, if you want me to go quicker. So the next part here is that partnership and support of the County of Newell. So obviously we're hoping the County of Newell will be a strong partner for us. We really do. And part of that, when I take a look at your guys' website, in your mission, in your vision statements, this project truly aligns with that. Another thing, like I said, I'm not foolish. You might be saying, well, geez, I've never had a kid out in Bizano come in and play football, and that's my area. This is in the bottom corner here. This was just me looking at old pictures of players who I knew. And I've missed people. I missed Blaine Hoffman. I mean, he was from Scandia. And I put it down in the different divisions of where kids, and that's just football. How many kids from the County of Newell play soccer and would come to this field? And so I think that there's some real value to that when you look at each of your regions, where a lot of our students have come from to come and play. And so, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to, just so everyone is aware, just like all of our grasslands facilities, we do, we have other school divisions come and use our facilities all the time. It's not a problem. On the football teams, on all of the teams, we look at just grasslands kids, but it is actually kids from all of the school divisions in Brooks. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, the one thing when you talk about accessibility, there's field turf in Brooks. The city of Brooks has rolls of it in the field house that they usually pull out once during the Christmas months, or a few weeks in December, and it barely gets used. Why does it barely get used? Because of the rates. Grasslands Public Schools has joint user agreements with the city, with the county, for access for facility for free. And when Grasslands maintains this space, just like the track, it is for the whole community with no cost. And I think that that's pivotal. I can tell you, when I tour other facilities, I spent 2016 in Raymond, Alberta, in their field with the Alberta Summer Games, because they didn't charge us to use it. They wanted to go in Lethbridge. No, the city of Lethbridge was going to charge us.
So just a question for your comment, Reen. I mean, this is central to the or what's the name of the others?
To Christ the Redeemer schools. Yeah, yeah, it's right next door to Holy Family.
And as well, like they'll use the whole facility too. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll go to my next one here. These are our photo galleries. This picture up top here, 2023, where we're going to host the league semifinals, and it was going to be one of our last games ever. To remove that snow was too much, so the picture down below was in Medicine Hat, snow removed. The rubber pellets, the field runs about 8 degrees warmer, and so snow melts quicker, and you see what it looks like. That's the same day, just 100 kilometers down the road. Going down memory lane, there's a picture of me and my son many, many years ago at the junior high school, and we'd moved the snow. The picture on the right is a picture of us practicing in the snow, and the one in the middle was from a few years ago. That's what we played on. That's what it looked like. If you look at the picture at the bottom, that's Raymond, Alberta, this year. I believe it was their league finals, and they removed the snow, and the white there isn't snow. That their field is checkered because you can make that field look however you want. This picture in the top left where this boy's kicking the ball, that was our high school field this year. That's what it looked like. There isn't a blade of grass, it's dust. And if it ever rained, now it's mud, and now it's holes, and now it's everything. The picture in the top right, that was from a number of years ago, and you can see you can't even paint the lines in the middle of the field because there's no grass to paint it on. It's just dirt. No, in the middle there, that's our old field in the spring. Probably not in the spring, but in September. But it doesn't, it's not thick grass. It's not like you're playing in a game field where it's just a game and it's perfect grass. It's very blotchy. Hannah, Alberta has a turf field. The school's up in the top corner. What you're going to find out are a lot of schools are now developing and communities these together. This is Lacombe Composite. They have a population no different than Brooks, Alberta. Their schools to the left. Their field is on the right. This is in Cochrane, Bow Valley High School. They got the high school on the left. They got the junior high school on the right. They got a turf field. The other high school in Cochrane didn't like that, so they built a turf field at Cochrane High School. This one is in Cold Lake, again, another community. It's actually smaller than Brooks. Rec center, high school, right beside it, turf field. Rundle College, I just had my boys' basketball team there in Calgary. They got their school, and they got their elementary school, and they got a turf field. The one beside it is a brand new school in Calgary, Ernest Manning. They don't even use it for games. It's just a practice field, but they don't have to cut it. The Taj Mahal is Raymond, Alberta. They were the first one to have a turf field in Brooks other than the Stampeders. And you can see that facility with dressing rooms, field house. And in the bottom picture, that's their new high school. They're building their high school to go with there. These are just more turf fields. This is a new one that went in Beaumont this year. This is one in Airdrie. This is where when we go to provincials, we play Red Deer. Here's St. Albert. Here we are again in Brooks.
Okay, so basically where you're at today, you've got $1 million coming from the city, more or less committed. You figure you can raise another 500,000 in the community, so you're $1.5 million kind of that you have to figure out, and there's also potential for a provincial grant for a not insignificant part of that, probably, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, that's good. When do you need, saying you're coming to us to do what we can to help, what's your time frame? When do you need to have an answer?
Well, we would like to have the funds in place for the spring of 2027, or at least committed, so that we know that we're good to go ahead. And we have the funds committed, so sometime before then.
You know, if I just added to that, Arno, she has to make sure the numbers are there, right? Grasslands Public Schools doesn't have that kind of money. Like the government doesn't fund schools to have money laying around for that. And so she's told me, she's like, Jarrett, if Brooks Community Football doesn't have the money, we can't bail you out. And I'm not saying we need all 3 million by then. And then you got Alberta Infrastructure saying, well, if we're doing this, and you have to have the money in place. So,
No, I think we understand that, and I
so
don't think-
when, of course, I'm going to say the sooner we know, the better. But when you are, we're thankful for anything.
So back to the earlier question that I had, if this was going to carry on as quickly as it could, the sooner you would know, the better you could make that plan. Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Neil, or Councillor Johnson, please.
Through the chair, what would your expectation be from the county if you could pick your number right today?
I feel like I'm on Dragon's Den. You know, people are like, don't go too high, don't go too low.
Be careful.
I've been a resident for a long time, and I know typically when there are projects such as this and they're being built in the city of Brooks, usually the city is here and the county is there. And so if the city was giving $1 million, I mean, I will be thankful for any amount. What I would really be hoping for is anything 500,000 and more. If someone told me that I had $1 million from each level of government here, realize it doesn't have to just be this too. I mean, the facility could be bigger and better. There could be more grandstands. There could be lots of opportunity. So that's a real tricky question. And I know the people back here might be kicking me for saying that number, but truthfully, I would be thankful with any amount that you gave. And I feel that $500,000 would put us in a position where Grasslands could take a deep breath and know that we're going to make phase 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Anything else? I think we're good.
No, I don't think so. I just want to say thank you for letting us come here today and having Jarrett do the presentation. And we appreciate, like Jarrett said, anything that you can help us out with. That'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative and what's the right word? All the best with the, I mean, this is a community initiative and that's great. I'm sure we'll want to be part of it in some way.
Thank you for your time. I know I talk a lot.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. That was a good presentation. 10.5 functions of council. What do we have in terms of functions of council? Councillor Kopp, please.
The global green presentation yesterday.
That's a motion. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Go ahead.
I also attended CPAA Lunch and Learn. That's the Planning Association, and that didn't come up before our last meeting, so I'm wondering if it was just an hour, but on Zoom.
Go ahead, Holly.
Can I ask what you learned?
Okay, I was going to do a write-up. Oh, well,
Even the topic, I've no idea what it was.
A lot of it had to do with planning and communicating the plans to your community, and also taking in their suggestions on what you're planning.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just a question for Matt. Annette's query reminded me, don't we have a couple thousand a counselor for courses like that is just available?
Yeah, through the chair, there is a $2,000 allotment for professional development. It doesn't speak to the time component for council, right? So that's what the function of council would cover here is the time for attending. I'll remind council, your compensation and expense policy does encourage attendance at conferences, conventions, and professional development.
So someone make a motion that be Councillor Holly Johnson makes the motion. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
One more plug, they're going to keep doing them, so if anybody else is interested, there will be more.
Great. Thank you. What else do we need in terms of functions of council? Fundraising dinner? Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
5.1 is the economic development for elected officials in Tabor on January 30th. I cannot attend, but I'd make it a function of council for those who feel it'd be advantageous for them to attend if anyone's interested.
Okay, that's a motion. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, there's a PEP fundraising dinner coming up on February 9th. What do we need to decide there? How many are attending? Yeah, how many people would be attending that? There are some seats already secured, I believe, but February 9th, the Palliser Economic Partnership is sponsoring or hosting a fundraising dinner, which the focus will be an endowment to support vet students that will be housed, or it'll be part of the Southeast Alberta Foundation, the Community Foundations of Southeast Alberta, Southeast Alberta, that's correct, has an endowment set up. PEP has already signed to set that endowment up, and so it's in the process of being in place, and this fundraising dinner will be to raise funds for that endowment that will support vet students from southeastern Alberta, in the hope that will influence more vets to come to Southeast Alberta, because there's a recognized need for them. Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, if we want to support vets, instead of an endowment, which all it's going to do is make a little bit of interest and go out in every year, I would way sooner take $10,000, make it a budget line in our budget, and give 4 $2,500 scholarships, and forget the gala, which is going to cost thousands. You add up all the per diem for going to the gala, there's another few thousand. I'd rather just make it nice and simple, $10,000, 15, and be done with it. And I think specifying the vets is probably not the best thing. We talked about this last meeting too.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holly Johnson.
I think what's key here is this is an initiative of the Palliser Economic Partnership, and the exact number escapes me. I want to say 24 members in that. So some municipalities are really small, some are larger. This brings everyone's money in one place, so everyone can benefit. It's a large area. And I think it's really cool that this is something that the PEP membership has taken on as an area of interest. I think I can't exactly say where I saw the stat, but there are now more pets in Canada than children under the age of 18. So it's clear that vet services are really critical, and I think they'll consider it something for when people consider moving to their community, if they have a vet for their pets and animals and whatever else. It's kind of a quality of life issue. So for that reason, I think it is good to keep it as a PEP initiative that encompasses the entire PEP region.
But the fundraiser is here in Brooks. People will be coming from all across the region to support this, and I know from talking to veterinarians that they think this is a proactive approach that will actually address a concern. And I had comments from a vet who had some excellent ideas on how to leverage this so that it would be effective to address vets. If you'll recall that we had in our last term, we had a number of delegations talking to us about the concern about the shortage of vets in the region. It's something we talked about multiple times, and I think this is an approach that, is it going to solve it overnight? No, but it could actually make quite a difference going forward, because if you're training more people and you have a connection to the area, you might get more people back into your area. Anyway, go ahead, Councillor Hofer.
I agree that there is a shortage of vets, but there's also a shortage of a lot of other trade industries. And I agree with Neil. I think we should broaden the horizon a little bit and split it up accordingly between different areas of scholarships.
So are you suggesting, like, this particular one is targeted for this particular initiative? Are you suggesting we do this multiple times for different professions, let's say? Like this is somewhat of a unique situation. Like, it takes a lot of training and who else are you thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking of, if this is the initiative towards vets, that's fine, but I do believe that it wouldn't hurt to put a scholarship program together if that's what we want to do for the future, and like 10,000, 40,000, whatever it is, and just have random draws for people, kind of like the EID, the model the EID uses. It's, but there's, like, we need mechanics, we need doctors, we need nurses, we need all these other professions that are out there. So if we want to do something like that, I think that would be a best approach.
Okay. Councillor Kopp and then Councillor Johnson.
Well, right now, we're just talking about the fundraising dinner, and for the two people who are on PEP, that's already part of your spiel. Is anyone else interested in going? Because that's what we need to make a motion on, is just if somebody else wants to go besides Arno or Holly. I can't go, so, but anybody else?
I would be interested in going. It's a Monday.
Okay, it's a Monday night. You can't go, okay. So someone prepared to make it a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
I'm suggesting a motion where 4 councillors can attend. That leaves room for one more. We have that many seats, I do believe, secured. Is that correct, Arno? So motion for 4 to attend.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. And just FYI, I won't be one of those. I'm going on my own anyway, so yeah. So there should be room for people to go if they can. And hopefully this will be a successful event. JBS is a generous sponsor, as are others. Our MLA will be the guest speaker and guest of honor. So I think there's a fair bit of interest for people coming to the area to support this. Anything else? Any other functions of council?
Eastern Road Rising Tourism.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, which was that? 5.3. Right. Eastern Route Rising Tourism and Economic Power Summit on March the 5th. That is where? Hannah? Oh, that's the one you talked about, right, Councillor Hofer? This is? Okay. I think that's Veterans Memorial Highway. What's your wish? Do you want that to be a function of council? Councillor Hofer is our representative.
Are you interested in going, Ben?
I can, yeah. There was a discussion on this because they've now raised the, and I don't know if the letters come through to the county yet or not, but they've raised the membership fee to $1.10 per person per capita with a limit of $2,500. So it's going to cost us $500 more to be a member on that board, which is not a lot. So it's up to council to decide whether we want to stay there or not. But at the end of the day, it's not a lot. I don't see why not. But if we choose otherwise.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Just for clarification, is this one of the boards that Brooks is no longer active on? Are you aware? Not the Tourism Veterans Highway, because this is Veterans Highway Association, is it not?
It is, and Councillor Hofer is our representative, so there's no need for a function of council for him to attend. You're free to attend that because you're our representative. So there's no need for us to discuss a function of council for you to attend. You're our representative, so you need to be there. I would say generally. And if there's anyone else that is interested, I guess I'd need to see a little more on what the schedule is or the agenda for that meeting in terms of multiple people attending or not. It's attached. It's there? Sorry. That I didn't. Pardon me? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, the description they've got here is Eastern Route Rising, Tourism and Economic Power Summit. This one-day summit is designed for municipal leaders, councillors, mayors, CAOs, economic development and tourism professionals, as well as tourism operators and businesses across the Eastern Route, which I'm assuming is Highway 36, including restaurants, retail businesses, hotels and accommodations, museums, attractions, event organizers, and small business startups. And then they target newly elected officials stepping into their roles and businesses navigating a changing tourism landscape. A timely opportunity to strengthen understanding of tourism as an economic driver and how we can work together to support sustainable growth. So that's their sales pitch there. They've got a Tourism 101 session, municipal leadership panel. You can see it all there. So it looks like they put a bit of work into pulling the event together. I imagine it's a bit of a fundraiser for Veterans Memorial Highway Association, who's looking at increasing rates and looking for dollars where they can get them.
Okay, what's your wish? Do you want, what do you think, Councillor Hofer? Do you want more than one yourself there, or what's your preference?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm on the board. I can go. There'll be other people there. It's not that big of a deal. If anybody wishes to come, they're more than welcome to. But to Holly's question, it's the Brooks Regional Tourism that came off of the board, not the Veteran Memorials Highway. Yeah. But if anybody chooses to come with me, I'm fine with that too. It don't matter.
Okay. Councillor Kopp.
Seeing as we are missing a couple councillors today for them to say whether they'd like to go or not, I'd like to make it a function of council for one other councillor to go along with Ben if they so choose.
I think that's a good suggestion. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was 5.3. Is that it for functions of council? Is there anything else? Okay. That's enough, yeah. Municipal Services Business, Mr. Mark Harbrink, welcome.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year, since this is the first meeting. Update from December. Well, due to the break and stuff, not a lot happened, but we did have people out working over Christmas doing snow clearing and plowing between a few graders and definitely our highway trucks and hamlets. So municipal enforcement otherwise continued as usual. They issued 11 warnings, 41 tickets, over 38 investigations in December. And I just want to let everybody around the table know that tomorrow, Saturday, our officers are hosting a field training exercise for on-scene traffic control. They're going to be using Township Road 18-2 to the south of us here. So Lake Newell Resort residents will see flashing lights at each end of that, along with some signs saying emergency control in progress kind of business for, again, Friday and Saturday. And this will include our emergency services personnel as well to educate on how to do things better. So a public notice will be going out on social media as well to advise public, so there shouldn't be too many questions that arise from that. Fleet services, just keeping up with repairs, maintenance, preventative maintenance mostly, but working on the fire apparatus. I did not get an update to find out whether it rolled out of the shop, but I do believe it has been returned. Grader operators, snow and ice control. Oh, wait, we don't have any snow left in the region now, so, but this was December, so they were out, as I said. They've also been assisting out at the Crop Diversification Center doing some tree pruning and stuff, because when our grader operators are not plowing snow or winter, they're doing the vegetation management. So great to collaborate with agricultural services on that. Truck drivers, if they're not out plowing snow, they're working on the winter stockpiling program so that we can readily respond to gravel needs in spring and summer when we're in those programs. Highway signs and other things that arise with winter, and they also provide the services to our hamlets with plowing snow and removing snow from hamlets. In essence, that's it in a nutshell. It's kind of a short month in December when we go under office closure, but our staff are there to respond even under office closure for the public. So any questions?
Thank you. I just want to send kudos out. I did see your crew out in our area over the holiday season on some of the peak holiday days, making sure that the roads were serviced, and that was didn't go unnoticed.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Yeah. Councillor Johnson.
Just a quick question. When your truck drivers are out trimming trees at CDC, does that get billed to the province?
It's all done through our job costing and tracking to which assets are under our stuff, and we have job costing for Crop Diversification Center and the funding that's been provided. So.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll answer that more specifically, no. It gets included in the bottom line numbers that the annual rent or the annual lease that the province pays is based on. So looking back in the rearview mirror, that'll be some of the figures that next year's lease amount is based on. So it's not a, we engage the contractor, we get our guys there, cut the trees down and send an invoice to the province. Not like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thanks, Mark. We are on to a tender award. Welcome, Jeff.
Good afternoon, everyone. In front of you, you will see a request for decision for the tender award for the construction of the JBS Access Road, Township Road 19 to North and Highway 873 intersection improvements. We advertised the tender on November 7th, 2025 and closed on December 11th. We had a total of 4 bids, with the low bid being submitted by Brooks Asphalt and Aggregate. You'll see a lot of previous council direction under that section in the RFD. This has been a long time we've been talking about this. I'll just touch maybe really briefly on some of that stuff. So back in 2019, we teamed up with JBS Canada and Alberta Transportation to look at the safety around the intersection at Range Road 15-0 and Highway 1. That report came back and said the intersection was geometrically kind of inherently a safe intersection, and that the accidents and incidents were caused based on, driver error, poor decisions being made, entering traffic when they shouldn't have entered. The sight lines were good. Alberta Transportation came through in 2021 and did some highway maintenance that they had planned, and they did implement some of the recommendations out of that study. Lots of you probably noticed there was raised concrete curbs, delineation of exit and entry lanes onto the road, additional paint, delineating the lanes in and out to try to control the traffic. So they did perform some improvements. And then in 2023, JBS Canada came and approached County Council with more concerns about, injuries and incidents and looking at other ways to fix the problem. So council agreed at that time. We went and we did another study, but this time we looked at just reducing the travel time and the queuing times. We noted people were taking over an hour to get home back to the city of Brooks from JBS following their shift. They had things to do, they had places to be, and that could have been the reason that they were leading to poor decisions when they finally got to the intersection of Highway 1. We implemented that study. We identified some ways that we could help. We could really reduce those queues by funneling people out of the parking lot to different areas, different directions. And ultimately, we presented a report to council showing that the preferred route would probably be to empty the East JBS parking lot onto Gun Club Road and direct them to Highway 873. There is a parking lot on the west side of JBS, so it got kind of tricky and convoluted. There was lots of options looked at, and this kind of seemed the most efficient and effective at the time. Fast forward to early 2024, the county received a STIP grant for $1.8 million. That was based off of the study that we completed to implement the improvements at the JBS parking lot, Township Road 19 to an intersection. At that time, it was really just thoughts on paper. There wasn't a lot of engineering behind it. That's why we're here at the beginning of 2026 for a grant that was received in early 2024. We have since been going through engineering design. We've had to go through, environmental review, historic resource review, land negotiations, meeting with adjacent landowners, going through all the plans, and we finally got to a point where we've got the land secured that we need. We've got the agreements in place that we need. We issued the tender for the final design of the improvements, and we closed it. And we're here today just to ask the council award the project to Brooks Asphalt and Aggregate. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Any questions? Councillor Scander.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve Brooks Asphalt and Aggregate.
As per the recommendation.
As per the recommendation.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think you did express well. This is taken longer than we maybe thought it would, but I also want to remind council that this is something, and I credit our staff for being prepared to take this on. It was a request of the province to manage this on behalf of the province. I think it's great that we went ahead and did that. I think that's getting this done probably as quickly as it could. So good work. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. I'm going to suggest we take 5, but I think we're very close to the... Okay, can we a motion to go in camera? Okay, I'm going to suggest that we go in camera at 10 after 2, so take part of 5 minutes.